It's still the 16th of the 7th, 2024, and there's aggressive banging to say, Justin breaking molested Sadie. This person's in a very angry mood. Whether he's losing his temper I do not know, but the banging's not good. Also, the burning started again, and I'm not in a fucking good mood for this tonight, I tell you, because I had a very bad day. Or this evening, should I say. It's not even 6 o'clock yet. Beating you to fucking death. You're the reason that Matty had to go to Barnstable. Because what they're saying is, on the 2nd of May, which is the same day as Sadie Dando's birthday, except she was born in 1997, is he was supposed to knife me down and knife the fucking door off, and smash the door off, and he knifed the staff door as an alternative to knifing me. So that's what's happened in school, and the neighbours are not happy about it, so the neighbours want me dead, and they think I've raped Sadie when I haven't, so they got to go with the shit that's being told to them. Neighbour is breaking in your fucking place, said. Such a fucking sicko, reason you moved from Burnham-on-Sea, being busted tomorrow, said. 40 just, fruitcake, said. You don't look at people over 40, you fucking paedophile, jab him, said. Professional Tron, Justin, you don't stay in, said in temper. Keep walking past a play school, bash you in, Justin, fruitcake. Gonna bust your fucking place, said. Being shot, fucking paedophile, Justin. You're Saven, said. Everything's fucking gone, you rapist, Justin. Everything fucking cleared. Your life is fucking misery. Smash your fucking face up, you rapist, said. Penis shoots up 4 times. It's a loud bike. Shoot you off, fucking paedophile. You won't fancy fucking shingles. You're fucking going, said. 20s, said, or something bow whistled. I can't remember what was bow whistled. Being smashed out fucking hard. Fucking liar. Rapist, said. Saven, said, when that's not my name. Being burgled, that's his lot, said. Fucking spastic. Sadie's mother phoned the police. You fucking raped her, just, said. That's it now. Next time you go outside, fucking smash him in, said. Breaking in now, Justin. Car revs molested Sadie, that's it now. Right, so, car revs molested Sadie, that's it now. Sexuality being beat up, just. Bow whistles, loud piped wanking, and then 17 more loud pipes wanking. Busting in, child rapist, just being shot dead. Robbery, you're gone, Justin, you're being shot dead, just busting in, breaking in, said. Having a break-in Wednesday, said. You're causing fucking trouble, you raped a fucking child, just, said. You're having a fucking break-in. You're having a fucking break-in, Justin. Missing, Justin, said. Penis up motorbike, penis up next motorbike. Smash you up, said. Let's go and work out what I've written there. So, hang on. Being shot dead. Penis up loud bike. Justin busting his home, bash him in, said. Bow whistles, X-ray, said. Children's music, techno, just. Children have sex, you spastic, said. Total schizophreniac. Bust his flat. Wet bow whistles. Cancer, Justin dying of cancer. X-ray, said. And then burning starts again. Total sad cunt, Justin, breaking in your flat. Bash you out, banged. From the neighbour in my next room. And then intense burning starts to occur. And then obviously Peter goes outside at roughly midnight. Outside to the communal garden, basically. The smell of shit, unflushed toilet smell started. I'm fucking busting in tomorrow, guarantee, said, so I need to get a knife ready to smash this person across the fucking face and bash his fucking head off. Fucking evil fucking cunt. I've had enough of it these days. You know, the only way to retaliate is to make people listen, to make them understand that they're making mistakes on sexuality for this to occur. 99.9% of all fucking problems I've had in my life is sexuality and bullshit made up on sexuality. Right, 2 AM, burning starts to occur really bad. But I've noticed that it could be coincidence, but like I say, I can't accuse anyone, but each time Peter goes out, this burning starts. Blow the fucking flat up, you fucking child rapist. Beat you up, you fucking sick cunt, at 2:09 AM from a neighbour at St Thomas Cross, Eastville, Yeovil, Somerset, UK. Beat you up, smash your fucking face up, You fucking child rapist. Gonna take your fucking life away, you fucking sick cunt, said. You tried blowing the place up, said. And then there's a few other things that were said. Basically they're accusing me of trying to blow the building up on exactly the same day my dad had to pick me up to stay at his place back in February, because I couldn't stay here because the week before he picked me up I was burning from some form of whatever was being caused. And when I returned back from my dad's and came back here, I was accused of rape in the area where my dad was, so there's nothing I could do about it. And then obviously this is kicking off nasty, and it's currently kicking off again now as I'm mentioning it. 2:30 AM, someone rings my bell several times in a pattern, and then I go outside in the communal garden and see a couple of people. One of the staff workers is up at 3 AM, stupid justice, smash you in banged, and paedophile banged. The banging appears to be coming from underneath me, but apart from Matty Honeyset, who's the previous neighbour before he got evicted for knifing the staff door down early, then I'm not quite sure who's banging, unless there's a visitor or someone else. Right, so I've been woken up because I had to have a phone call. Bash your head in, Justin, paedophile. Sadie banged at 8:18 AM. Car revs, HIV just, rape to Sadie just, syringing you dead, Justin, said. And then there's intense burning. That's it now, Justin, having a bust-in, said. That's it, lost it, stole Sam's bike, said. Break-in, said, as a separate threat. Everything missing, child molester, Justin said, and 4 loud bikes to erections. Sadie banged, intense burning for 30 minutes, molested Sadie, dead meat, being beat up, said. You raped her back in 2010, you paedophile, said. Being stabbed with a knife. Being stabbed with a HIV needle, Justin said. Robbery, said. Tron is not stopping, Justin, you keep adding, Olivia said. Justin, everything in your place gone, said. Yes, Justin. Yes, just. Sicko. You do fancy Lisa Pike, Sadie Dando, Justin. And then sick cunt having a break in, Justin said. Shot dead. Too late, just said. Stop using the buses, Justin said. Having a break in, Justin. Smash you in, Justin said. And obviously several loud bikes tied to an erection. Threats are definitely on the increase, both in and out at the moment, especially in the last few days. Negative flood, Justin, getting busted, said. Breaking in, HIV banged, loud bike time pissing. Lost your life, just said. 10:28 AM, burning stops, but it appears to be when Peter returns back home. Before that time, that's right, block the fucking road off, right, I'll go in the fucking town, alright, Christ, you cruelty bastard, right, yeah, you sex slaughter cunt, right, yeah, fucking forget it, Christ, you nasty bastard, I'll fucking I'll have the shit fucking thrown at me, you cunt, the sentence without me having a say, go on, fucking give it some, Christ, you sex slaughter cunt. Right, so, I've lost that, that's occurring, it initially occurred at 8 AM, the burning, and then obviously, when Peter returned back, police siren has to say dangerous paedophile, and Peter bangs to say pedo. Itchy bumhole, penis up some motorbike, breaking in, burgle him, insane said, sneezed at hard wet sneeze, penis up motorbike, again twice, sick cunt breaking in his flat, very strange, smash his fucking head off, smash his fucking head in, total fucking loony child abuser said, fucking smash him in, smash him up, knife him, sick cunt. Someone mistakes me as Savan, saying Savan smash his fucking brains up, child rapist. And we're going to the next page. Sick cunt smash his fucking brains out, said. Fucking child abuser, take his fucking life away. Derb brain, knife attack, said. Bow whistles, certainly molested Sadie, said. Molested Sadie, life's gone, getting a fucking break in, said. Molested Sadie, said again, for a third time. Getting a fucking break in, sad bastard. Another separate threat is fucking breaking in. Sad bastard, smash his fucking face up, having a break-in. Oh, not separate, smash his face up. Having a break-in, Justin said. Sick cunt, fucking kill him. Shot dead, said. Fucking going, said. Granny timed, and a lookalike to someone who sexually abused me as a child timed to an erection at the same time. Black and blue car tying, Zimmer frame angled at me. Funny, Justin said. Penis up, itchy bum holster bike. Sick cunt, knife him dead. Dangerous, where is it? Dangerous paedophile, said. Grey, white, blue. Black and blue, black, sick, white, red, grey. Right, a farmer using a loud shotgun, shouts, sick cunt, shot dead. He's not firing the gun at me, but he is shooting something. And it's a very loud type of shotgun as well. It's not one of those fucking quiet ones. Right, so I get to the catalytic converter hot point, and there's 14 cars, which initially was a grey sexual car and a black sexual car and whatever. I'm about to cross, and I don't cross because I had to go back and collect something that I dropped off the floor, which was a bag that was... Right, so there's been 14 loud bikes tied to an erection in just a matter of just a few minutes or so. Right, so there's a farmer that's shooting a gun, and he shouts basically that sick cunt being shot dead. However, he's not actually firing the gun in my direction, but he is in a fucking temper mood, and he is shooting. I don't know what he's shooting, but it sounds like he's shooting the other way. So after that, there was 13 vehicles, which include a van and a bus, and I'm being choked out by a catalytic converter at the catalytic converter hot point. When I get past the catalytic converter hot point, the remaining loud bikes that I mentioned are tied to an erection. Messed up, said like that, and then someone says, he raped Sadie. Right, so the government have me controlled like a piece of shit, and they've tied 7 cars to choke me out with a catalytic converter that has the smell of vinegar mixed with the smell of rubbing 2 stainless steel knives against garden cress, except it's about 100 times stronger, mixed with vinegar, by the way. That's how they make a catalytic converter smell in engine cars. As far as electric cars go, they never time electric cars in my direction, and they're coming in now, but the catalytic converter came in 1997. In the same time period, they stopped the aim and brake and sampling from old records to make old school jungle music. The catalytic converter was invented and put on cars in exactly the same time period they banned the old school jungle stuff. 7 cars is basically the limit before you go into heavy setups that are not normal. And that's the first car over the normal setups. So we have a red van in my direction. I'm choked by a catalytic converter. Shot dead shouted in a laughable, serious way from a distance. Time to penis sexual impulses and excited throws in my penis means to time a loud bike. Shot down child molester bow whistled. Right, so I've been here 20 minutes or so, and I'm feeling very bad, to the point where I was camping out the other day. So it's like your head's crushed in, it's squeezed, like your brain's being squeezed inwards, and it's sort of causing an irritating, uncomfortable sort of feeling, and you've sort of got your head on the outside feels like it's hard, so your head feels, it's like it's all hard around the skin area, you know, sort of hard, like your head's in the case of like a skull that's hard. It's got that sort of feeling. I don't know how to describe it. Well, I don't want to accuse Peter of doing this, but every time he goes in the garden, this is when the burning's occurring in my place, and this is the last few days. It's been making me feel very ill if he is doing it. I can't report it because they're just saying it's caused by schizophrenia, but I've been speaking to a couple of people, and they're saying it's not schizophrenia. They're saying the symptoms you get need to be checked out, but the problem is when I get it checked out, they're just referring to schizophrenia or telling me to get a taste of my own medication in high dosages in an attempt to turn me into a cabbage and to basically kill me. So they're basically trying to give me medication because they want me hit off. And I had to actually say this to the ATO team who came out and visited me today, because I left a message saying I had to camp because I was in agony, and have burn pains because of the situation, but they just keep on saying it's schizophrenia, and they're saying that even when you're smelling the petrol, that's caused by schizophrenia. Some of the new staff, when they first worked at the place that I live, they actually agreed they could smell something a bit musky or petrol type smell in the building when it was occurring. They changed their story later on, saying that they couldn't smell anything, and that it's probably the paint that was being painted at the time when there was no painting that was taking place that they could smell from another room. And now, since that time, some of those staff workers have actually left. They don't work there anymore, or the ones that still work there, saying that there hasn't been any petrol smells in the building, even though they admitted that they could smell it in the early days of when they first worked there. And obviously when the fire brigade came out, because I was getting really ill at one occasion because of how strong it was. This goes back to 2022 or early 2023, I can't remember what year it was. The smell went for an hour, and when they did finally turn up, the fire brigade, and they went around in my room with the detectors in the bathroom and everywhere else to see if there's any liquid or petroleum stuff, and they couldn't pick up anything at all. And I was trying to explain to them it was coming from the neighbour underneath, but I couldn't really say the person's name because I didn't want to cause trouble, and I don't know 100%. And obviously it was very rough back in that time period. Lots of threats, lots of shouting, and I was almost stabbed with a knife because of arguments of the early days of when Reese was still there, and he was having communication frequently with Grace Waterman. Not my subject to go into when it comes to that. But anyway, going back to the petrol smell, that's put down as olfactory hallucinations, meaning she's saying it's caused by schizophrenia. And when she mentioned that, I was mentioning that there's not been the smell of petrol for over a year. And I said there was a couple of smells that occurred of petrol here and there, but it's not that often. A lot of the problem at the moment is a threat that goes back before 2011, and it's this molested Sadie Dando threat. Or Ian's not really mentioned, but it has been mentioned now and again. So yeah, what happened was Ian used to come to my place back in the early days when I was living in Bridgewater at West Street, and so did my brother, in fact, and so did my other cousins. Stayed over at times, but not really that often, and that all came to an end basically. So that was sort of 2006, 2008 area, something like that, I can't remember. That was that. So there was threats obviously regarding these people going back, and it went on to about 2010. In 2011 it was really nasty. Then there was other neighbours and even people at the Squid pub were backing my story up with this allegation of other stuff that was said. In 2010 it was Bridgewater Fair, so Sadie's friends came up to my place just for a few minutes because my Uncle Rob, who I have nothing to do with these days, wanted to come up to see my place, and then he decided he didn't want to come up as I went into my place to use the loo to come back down to go back in the car when they were going to the outside because of Bridgewater Fair. I'm thinking of the second time that they came around of 2010. I'm getting confused between the fair and when they drove down and passed and parked up and went into my flat. Anyway, regardless of all that, 2011 was things started to calm down with the threats and all the rest of it. and obviously that's the sort of time period when they fell out with me for a second time. Because what happened was they fell out with me the first time because of this accusation regarding Sadie, and then obviously they found out that it wasn't true, and they offered me to come back down again. And I wasn't sort of as stable down there this time as I was because the accusation took place. And then obviously I can't say the name of my cousin because I don't want to cause any problem, but they offered him to come down and he was accused of the same thing, so he doesn't have anything to do with them either. Although things are a little bit better these days, not so much within sort of going down there or seeing them or whatever, things are stable in a sense where they're okay with you to say alright and they're happy with you or whatever if they see you in the streets, you know, that sort of thing. So you're treated as a sort of family member, you know, but they sort of, so things are okay, because I've even seen Chris in Asda's, if we go back when I was visiting Bridgewater, going back to 2022 I think it is, and he even said alright. So things are a lot better than what they used to be, but the threat that initially took place has lived on and is coming back at me today. With the information content of the threats, it's making the suggestion that Alex Lunnis could be involved with the threats that are occurring, but I don't want to accuse him because I don't know 100% sure. But there's a lot of information that's coming out that is applying that specific person. That's that on that. I can't think of what to say. There's a black and blue car, by the way, and a red knife shaped as well. So while your head's being crushed in and you can't think properly, it's very difficult to think what you need to say, because obviously somebody's using some form of fucking energy weapon or whatever's causing me to feel fucking ill. I mean, I'm feeling bad today. The symptoms I'm getting from this I'll mention in a minute, but yes, the suggestions applying that. Sadie Dando's birthday is on the 2nd of May. She was born in May the 2nd, 1997, which is also the same day the government banned the use of using older samples and the aim and break to make jungle music or make any other music, by putting copyright control on older music to stop people sampling from it to make and sell music. So they put a copyright on it, meaning you had to pay for every sample that you use, and you had to have a lot of money to make music after the 2nd of May 1997. But also the 2nd of May is the same date when they very first, I can't remember if it's when they installed the very first catalytic converter on a car, or whether it's when they were discussing catalytic converters to be put on cars. I cannot remember, but that was the time when they started doing that, which is what I mentioned, which irritates me when a car drives past, because it has that vinegar type smell mixed with the smell of rubbing two stainless steel knives against garden cress, except about 100 times stronger. And how I know about the smell of that is because I was eating the cress once off the knives, and that's when I discovered that the smell, if it's mixed with vinegar, it makes a suggestion of catalytic converter. Whenever I eat cress these days, it's usually I eat it on my hands. But when I was discovering or pissing about with cress or doing whatever, that's when I came across and realised that it makes that sort of smell. But obviously it's nowhere near as horrible smelling as a catalytic converter. But it's got that essence where you can smell the like silvery type smell with the cress, but with a vinegar type smell added, and in the cases like a rotten egg type smell that's mixed in as well. That makes up a catalytic converter. We've gone into the stage of electric cars now, but electric cars passing are very far and few between because they've only just started coming in. They deliberately sort of plan the catalytic converter to be a nuisance and a control for my lifetime, basically. But that's the way the elite are. They want to rip me to pieces and take me apart, control my movement, and fucking sexually slaughter the fuck out of me and slice my wrist with a creator god for me to be fucking played about with as a child sexually in my next life before being beaten to fucking death, or played about in a fireplace with poker sticks, or to be killed by a crocodile or a deadly snake or whatever. So anyway, got some dribbling bow whistles, wet bow bob popping bowl whistles that I just heard. So yeah, so anyway, back to the Sadie threat. Yeah, so it sort of died down. There's a few people that are holding the grudge, but somewhere along the lines, or somewhere, it caused the Palace nightclub just to go completely silent in the last couple of years I was living there, even on the hard style rave nights. It just suddenly went quiet. I'm not quite sure why that is, but the last 2 years just calmed down completely. When I was living at West Street in Bridgewater, and the Sadie threat just sort of died down. There's a couple of people laughing, and they're sort of joking, saying that's Jungle Justin or whatever, or laughing, saying, and so the sort of stuff like that. I'm surprised at that. I saw him in town. I'm surprised at that, and then a couple of people sort of came up to me in that sort of time period and saying, sorry, I was actually wanting to kill you going back several years ago, and saying, I'm sorry, mate, and put your hand on the shoulder, do you want some of this vodka, mate, and stuff like that. So things did actually change, and there was a few that changed going back even before that. But when I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, the first 8 months I was actually at Burnham-on-Sea, apart from seeing my ex-mugger Dan Morgan, who was getting ready to get violent, it appeared, I can't guarantee that. So I decided to inform the law, because I was a little bit concerned, because it looked like he was purchasing a knife from Morrison's, and I wanted to be a bit cautious about going out. So I thought, if that's the case, got to be a bit wary. So I thought he heard me say his name on the phone to the police, and I've not really had any problems from him since. There was a time period where I was walking onto the beach 6 months before I actually moved to Yeovil, where he followed me from behind, but it wasn't really, it's like he was hoping that I didn't look behind, sort of, but otherwise. And then obviously I saw him in September when I was camping at Barrow in the sand dunes, when all this violence broke out, and where someone's car got smashed in, where the tyres were slashed, the windows were smashed, people were jumping on the car, shouting their heads off, threatening to kill Seven, thinking it was Seven's car, thinking I'm Seven, and thinking that that's Seven's car and whatever. And then they were shouting, saying that I'd break his guitar, it's in the boot, or he's got his disc jockey stuff in the boot, stuff like that. So whoever this Seven is a possibility. He plays a guitar and goes to gigs, but not rave gigs or electronica music gigs. This is something different. When we come to the threats of this specific person, he boasts like a middle class man. He goes ha ha ha, and he brings out that ah in the accent of when he talks. I'm only going by what the threats or suggestions is. According to these couple teenagers on the back of the bus once, they think that Seven's got looks similar to me, but saying his nose is slightly rounded, more rounded than mine. He's more bigger build than me, and he's more feeble looking in the face than me as well, and said that his face is not as long as mine, if I remember. And obviously someone I spoke to at the Barrow Coffee Morning also said the same thing. I've spoken to someone called Rob as well, but he doesn't know who that person is. I've spoken to quite a few different people actually. There's one person that I was speaking to. I actually showed some identification, my birth certificate, and I also showed my national insurance number, my original one, before it was because obviously I've still got my original one, not a reissue or anything like that. Even after showing this specific person my documentation to him that confirms my name and who I am, when I went to visit in September, even this person turned against me, forgetting I showed him that documentation, and he thought I was Savannah. He got quite nasty. So everyone got nasty when I visited. The lady in Seabreeze, New Age shop, even she said, "Get out my shop, I don't want you in here, you sad bastard, Savannah," when that's not my name. In Asda, I had nearly 100 people start on me, or around about 100 people give me threats in 20 minutes in Highbridge while waiting for an appointment of where I had to go to. And then there's obviously, in total, there's just over 1,000 threats maybe. I don't actually count them, you know, but there's definitely... Walking back from King's Cliff, on the very final night I stayed, so basically I went to King's Cliff near North Petherton. Every dog walker, every person, even the old grannies walking past thinking I was Savannah, calling me a sick bastard or giving me an evil look or making a sick suggestion or whatever. When I reached the main road, people in cars were shouting out the window and whatever. It wasn't that many, it wasn't every car. 12 people on the bus, I think it is, I can't remember if it's 12 or 14, I've forgotten. I think it's 12. I had to move positions on the bus to the front deck instead of the top deck because people were getting nasty photographing me thinking I was Savannah. When I got off at Taunton, this is on the last day alone, so when I got off at Taunton, I couldn't get off at the bus station, I had to get off near where Lidl's is. When I was in Lidl's, 5 threats being mistaken as Savannah, and a police officer heard it. Although the police officer didn't actually make a note of it, or probably didn't make a note of it, he heard what was going on and he was thinking to himself, wondering what's going on, but he didn't actually go up to ask anyone what was going on. But you could see that he was getting ready to find out what was causing it, if you get me. I gave that impression or that look when people were mistaking me as Savannah to find out what was going on, as if he was getting ready to question these people basically. But like I said, he didn't. When I walked out of Lidl's, regardless of the police car, there was a couple of people in cars that were mistaking me as Savannah, saying, "We stopped you getting sex, Savannah, you don't have nothing," or whatever, and Savannah's not my name. So then the next person, a bearded person in the car, he started saying that you're being shot dead or something like that. Then where the fish and chip shop is, someone in the council rented rough property that looks like a private place, started shouting at me, saying that I was Savannah, saying you're being fucking knifed down or shot dead or something like that. Then people passing the chip shop walking on the street, 3 of them I think it was, I can't remember, or several people in general on both sides of the road gave me threats, getting nasty about it. And while waiting at the bus stop to get the bus, there was more people in cars either giving me an evil look or saying something out their car, saying you're sick or whatever. And then finally, when I got on the Yeovil bus to get to from Taunton to Yeovil, there was people at the back of the bus photographing me thinking I was Savannah while I was forced at the front of the bus because there's nowhere else to sit. So I had the seat where I was sitting, where they could just persistently film me or photograph me without any choice. So I was sitting there, and I had a whole load of stuff like my tent and whatever else to take back. And there was still one threat when I was walking from Yeovil bus station to get to where I live. So, and that's just on the morning of coming back, you know, so it's not good. And also the one of the nights I was at King's Cliff, the police were at the top because there has been an argument, a massive shouting argument, where they wanted to attack someone called Savannah again. But it was interesting though, this one, because the people that were being arrested who were having an argument, shouting, they looked at me but they didn't recognise me as being Savannah. So whoever this Savannah is might be you know, some people can actually see the difference between who the person is, and they probably know who that person is. But in general, I'm mistaken as that person, because the police had a sort of disagreement and not a disagreement with me, and because they found out I was camping. So they were happy with me. They said they said we don't really like it when people are wild camping, but they're saying you have chosen a good place, and because of the reason I gave them, because of the heat wave and because I had appointments, because of September reached 32 degrees Celsius and 34 degrees, you know, at night time at my place, I couldn't stick the temperature, so I had to camp. And that's in the second week of September 2023. So the police officer said, well, you are doing the right thing, I suppose, and said you're not in the way of anybody, are you? Said you're away from children, you're away from play areas and stuff like that. So I said we have no problem with that, but if you are told to get off by any of the farmers or anything like that, then you must do so. And I said that's not a problem. And I said, well, it was nice speaking to you, Justin. Have a nice night, and hope you sleep well. So something like that. I can't remember what he said now. And then the police left it at that. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Literally every camping night, apart from at King's Cliff, but even now I had to move on occasion or come back. But every time at Burnham, Barrow Sand Dunes or whatever, each night that I was there, in the 8-day period or 9-day period that I was pissing about camping, and with one night going back to mine with a temperature of 34 degrees even when I went back, which made me ill the next day when I went to camp back out. It was bad. Let's just say it's bad. But every time at Barrow I had to change spots of where I was staying back in 2023. Anyway, going back to this Sadie business. When I was living at Burnham on Sea, the Sadie Dando threat was extremely rare. It occurred, obviously it's never been completely gone, but it was very, very rare. And it seemed to be mostly connected with people that are connected to Alex Lunnis. I don't want to have to bring his name up because he's not really, there's no evidence of him actually causing any problems or anything like this, but it's just, I'm referring to his name as a person who has friends that are connected to him, where the source of this threat was increasing from, but it never really sort of went any further than that. It sort of died out really. The Sadie, there's been 6 months gaps without the Sadie threat when I was living at Burnham on Sea. It was rare. There was times in 2016 or before where it was quite bad, but it did eventually die out. The first 6 months that I moved to Yeovil, there wasn't that threat. That threat wasn't there. But after the 9th of June 2022, that's when the Sadie Dando threat came in even nastier. But it was also mentioned by that person who went to attack me to smash me out on the railway track at Highbridge, but met me in Bridgewater. Now, I'm not sure who this chap is, but he's a bold type, rough sort of person, and he also looks like one of the enemies that's tried knifing me dead in the past, that's lost his temper and used to be a psycho or screwball that used to listen to happy hardcore music in the early 2000s. It's not the same person because this person is slightly younger, but he's definitely one of those, definitely had a near enough looking face to a person called Water, but he also looks like Nick and someone called Neil, who are all happy hardcore ravers that used to wear the New York baseball cap. And there's a Bonkers CD of a similarity face that also merges in with those people to the Bonkers. I can't remember if it's Bonkers. There's one of the Bonkers. It's the one with that cheesy grin, that cheesy face on it. It's after Bonkers 13, so I can't remember what number it is, but it's before Bonkers 19, which is a React Records release of happy hardcore tunes for the happy hardcore heads that listen to that sort of music. Now, he didn't actually look like that, but if he was a younger age, he'd have the same sort of appearance and face. I do record this type of person that went to attack me being one of the rough types of people. I don't have a clue who it is, but he also looked very similar to the person who was pretending to be the car dealer of when this Michael Jackson prostitute went to scam me of £800 nearly. It was 700 and it's high 700s or something, and I didn't even get sex from that person who scammed me. She claimed that she was 18. She claimed to be a single lady and a prostitute at that time, in 2018, in March 2018. And I wasn't going to open the door to her because she actually looked more negative looking than Lisa Pike, when Lisa Pike was, well, would have been roughly that age, or whatever. Lisa Pike was a little, to be honest, Lisa Pike was slightly better looking, although Lisa Pike's not the type I take to. If you go back to the age she was, this person, this dark haired lady, or what I nicknamed Michael Jackson prostitute, or Jeanette is the name she gave, she's one of those that's really negative. It's a setup basically. So I was told by well, I wasn't told, I heard it in the corridor of my place. They think that the person who set this up is Dan. So they said that they did it as an excuse. One of the neighbours needed money to move out, so they knew that I'd never had sex in my whole life. They knew that I need someone, and they thought that I'm a good target to get money off of, thinking I'm mentally disabled with autism, and thought they're going to stir shit that way. They didn't say which Dan is causing the trouble, but there's a possibility they could be referring to my ex-mugger Dan Morgan, though that's not certain. But also they have mentioned that there's been a Dan that's lived there, that I don't know who that is, that lived at Pine Grange before I moved from Burnham-on-Sea, and I think that's the reason for this prostitute. She said she was about 18. She said she was 18, sorry. But if I was to guess her age, she looked more around about the age of 22. But she was definitely not a pretty sort of person. She's sort of more negative, and that's why I wasn't going to answer the door initially. But because I fell into the trap, I answered the door, and that's when I got scammed. Well, anyway, the car dealer where she wanted me to meet with the to make a payment, and then she said she made the accusation that she broke a leg and she stayed at my place while I go and see the car dealer again and see your debit card number, and that's when I realised that the scam was taking place. But anyway, like I said, the neighbours in the corridor weren't expecting me to listen, and they said that they were trying to get money out of me in a sly way because they knew that I was mentally disabled and knew that I needed sex because I hadn't had it all my life, and said they'd taken the piss out of him and saying it's caused by Dan. So if that's anything to go by, then that's what was said by the neighbours. In actual fact, since that time, the neighbours, when it came to the gun sound, or the gun sounds being made, because there was a couple of gun sounds that were made at my old place, but they were very rare, that came to a stop in that time period. None of the neighbours made that sound. There's just one occasion which occurred 6 months after, and that was it. That was the end of it. No more gunshot sounds right through until I left to move to Yeovil. So, you know, that's, I don't know why cars are beeping, but they are. That's just a normal road. Both sides traffic can get past, even two vans can get past both ways, so I do not know why they're beeping, but they are. So that's that. But I don't actually know if it's actually caused by that specific person, because it only seemed to be in the time period I was trying to message just for friendship of people that I kind of knew. One person doesn't remember me, which doesn't surprise me, or she just doesn't like me. But either way, when it comes to any of these people, it's too late for any of them anyway. All of them have gone into negative attraction, but it does seem that as soon as they become pregnant, that's when they go into negative attraction. And I think to myself, what's that got to do with? Why does it happen when someone gets pregnant? They suddenly go into negative attraction after a few years. So I'm not exactly sure why that is, but that's what it appears. It doesn't seem to happen with everybody. But so the people I tried messaging goes back was Amanda Millis, Kimberly Cox, Kimberly Hobbs. Who else? These are Sadie's friends. Then again, when I saw Sadie in 2016 area, she did tell me to be aware not to have any communication with these people, even though they're her friends, because it might cause trouble to come back at me, basically. But she did say that Kim, she does go for older men. But there's also another Kim. I'll just quickly go into that. I can't give the time period because it's awkward, so I'm just going to quickly get through it as fast as I can. When she was 18, she went with a bloke aged 41. Well, I didn't know about this when I contacted her 10 years after she'd been in that relationship with that person and fell out. Take into account I was 10 years younger, and take into account that the boyfriend is 10 years older than I am, her first boyfriend. But that was when she was 18, she got in a relationship with this person, and she became a single mother by that person. Eventually, they still like each other, but they're not in a relationship. Well, I didn't know about them being in a relationship at that time until later on. Well, with me, there's only 10 years difference in age and not 20 years difference in age. When she was 28, I asked her if she was single, basically. And she told me I'm a sick cunt because of the age gap being 10 years. Yet, her previous boyfriend, it was 20 years. And take into account, not only is there just 10 years age difference between me and her, but she's 10 years on top of the age she used to be, because she was 18 when she was a sexual 18 when she went with this bloke who was 41 or 42. And then obviously when I was you know, whatever age, 10 years younger, she told me I'm a sick cunt because of a 10-year age gap. Then you've got to take into account she would have been 28 and not 18, so she would have had rougher skin than what she would have had when she was 18. She wouldn't have had the sexuality look as either, yet it was known as sick. So something's happened in that 10-year gap to make that woman think that you're a sicko if there's more than a 10 years age gap difference in age. Yet she was with a person with a 20-year age gap, you know. So, but either way, that person doesn't like me, and the likelihood is she'd probably moan it as just a few years difference in age. I tried making friendship with Gemma Ferguson because I saw her on the beach on a regular basis in the lockdown, and obviously she had her sort of split personalities where some days she'd say alright, the next day she wouldn't. But there's also another person, I'm not sure what this person's name is. She looks near enough like Gemma, but she's older and she's a single mother of 3, and she's not as clean a looking appearance in the face as Gemma. Well, they both did walks on the beach on a regular basis. Now, I've spoken to both and said alright, mostly politely for the one of them, and the other one to try and make communication with. If we go back when I first moved to Burnham-on-Sea, a man just a bit older than me, or whether it's I think it's an enemy actually, but not one of the worstest enemies, just one of those sorts of people enemies that don't give me trouble sort of thing, one people that don't like you. That person was with another person just a bit younger than me. This goes back in the very early days of when I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, 2014 area. And they said that they're shocked that I could fancy Gemma, who works in the YMCA shop, saying she's not exactly the sexiest type. That's fucking surprised me, considering he's a weirdo, because obviously they're taking the piss out of me claiming I was a weirdo at that time and said that. Anyway, later on, when we reach 2019, you know, I tried making friendship with Gemma and whatever. In the end, I sort of got to a stage where I was sort of saying alright, and I thought it might be safe to leave a letter in the shop where she works, which is a YMCA shop in Burnham-on-Sea. So I just left a letter there when I moved to Yeovil, took a bus trip, and thought, why not ask if she wants to meet her for a coffee or something? Because when I first moved to Yeovil, it didn't turn out to be nice at all, it just turned out to be a slum. And I thought I want to have some sort of, go back where I wanted it used to live, you know. But it wasn't to be the case, because what happened was, is she phoned me up, because I left my number, asking sort of if, I said I don't want to sort of push anything or anything like that, but if you're single, you know, it'd be nice to get to know each other, have a chat or whatever. And she phoned me up saying, what the fucking hell do you think you fucking are doing? Fucking leaving a fucking message in my fucking shop where I fucking work. You've got the fucking nerve to that. I don't even fucking know you. But firstly, when she phoned me up, she said, are you Justin? So obviously I left my name on the thing. I thought it wouldn't be a problem. And even the staff worker at where I live, I told her the exact information that was on the letter. She said, I don't find that nothing too offensive. Said, give it a try. If you've sort of spoken to her on the beach or whatever, it said, you know, it might, but it didn't turn out that way, because she's a more serious type person that doesn't like it. Anyway, she said, you just fucked with the wrong person, because you've just landed your fucking whole life in fucking hell, in your grave, basically. And said, you don't know what I got behind me. The people I got behind me, they'll fucking take your fucking life away, they'll fucking knock you, fucking fly and take you, fucking put you in hospital. You won't be around anymore, you won't be a fucking live. You're just a sick bastard. You got the nerve, you're a sick cunt. You think you can go around adding a 31-year-old young lady when you're in your fucking late 30s or whatever it is, 40, when you're fucking 40, I can't remember what she said now. She either said, when you're fucking 40 and you got the nerve to add me. They said, I'm keeping that there, and I'm going to fucking phone the police. I might phone the fucking police. And then she said, no I won't, I'm going to fucking deal it with my way, and saying this is turning violent, this is turning fucking nasty. And then basically she's basically after that, she basically told me that, you know, kept rubbing it in, saying I'm a 31-year-old lady, saying, do you realise how young I am? I'm 30 fucking 1. You're 40. I can't remember if it's 39, she said 40, but she said something or rather like that. And then she just told me I'm a sick bastard, and said, and then whispered bye on the phone. in a sarcastic way, and that was the end of that. And then after that, that was the time period this person pretended to be a single lady who claimed to be Scot that wanted to smash me out on the railway track with a knife, but instead went to attack me in Bridgewater. But I managed to escape the situation very skintly, as I was sort of... I knew I wouldn't be able to argue with this person, because this person was fucking built like a brick shithouse, and he could just send me fucking flying like a piece of shit. He was not a fucking weak person. So I was a little bit scared at the time, so I thought I'd have to sort of shout, because I didn't have a knife on me, I didn't have any needles filled with weed killer or anything like that to commit murder if I had to or whatever. So I just sort of had to shout and left it at that, you know. But it's a dangerous situation. So, but I'm not actually 100% sure who it's because of. Whether it's because of this Kim, Amanda, Gemma, this Michael Jackson prostitute, or even Sally Ann. There's someone called Sally Ann, that's a person. I don't really message much when it comes to Sally Ann, because she knew the Dando side of the family. She knew them, but she doesn't remember me. Or unless she's a different person altogether, of course, that looks identical to the Mansfield family. But either way, I didn't want to cause trouble, and it's the end of that. But like I said, all these people have gone into negative attraction since they become single mothers. And believe it or not, as luck would have it, all of these people are starting to look like Lisa Pike, that negative sort of attraction person that I mentioned on the internet. And apart from Kim, all of these people have gained that fat build. They've turned into fat people, and literally look almost identical to Lisa Pike, and the same sort of attraction, which is not the type I take to, which is interesting. I don't know how that's been cursed, but so I do know what Lisa Pike did look like as a child, though. Her eyes were sort of lined across. She had like a chubby face, pretty medium build, long black hair as a child, because she showed me a picture at school once of what she used to look like. So I don't actually know anyone I can say she actually looks like as such, but I can work out the type of person she sort of looked like. But that's that. I don't want to go into Lisa Pike. So a lot of people tell me that I should be with this Lisa Pike, but the problem is I can't take to that sort. And even that picture that's on that I took off her Facebook, she's even under the age of 32 on that. She's somewhere between 29 and 33 maximum, but 32 is the possibility of the age she was, but I do not know. But she wasn't very good looking, literally straight after the age of about 20ish. She sort of went into negative attraction, though I didn't really see her, to be fair. Enemies obviously kept on telling me I should be with her or whatever, but then knowing that she's a negative attraction, yet all the enemies that have been telling me that I should be with her, they're all in sexual relationships with people like Shara Weston or Amy Weston, who are sexual looking people, the sexiest possible smooth skinned women you can get, and yet they're the sort of women that I'm told I'm a sick bastard to have a look at, Yet all my enemies that threaten me, basically 99.9% of all enemies that give me threats in my whole life, have been with these sexual types. Yet they got the nerve to nail me as a sick bastard if I look at the type that they've been with, even 10 years on top of the age of when they first had sex with that person. So it really pisses me off, because I haven't had no one in my whole life apart from being sexually abused as a child. And to actually insult me and to bring the Wayne's World business up, going back to the 90s, they're starting to dig with that. When they were digging with those setups, going back with the Wayne business, that died out almost as quickly as they tried making the suggestion. And then obviously there was no such thing as making Wayne suggestions that often, or it was almost no Wayne suggestions. When we come out of lockdown into the new way of life, that Wayne suggestions are hitting hard everywhere, mostly when I moved to Yeovil. So it's like that. It's mostly when the setups were occurring regarding that person. It was as a suggestion, or like if someone looked like him past, it would make that suggestion, and sort of setup would just drop dead, and they'd just gone with other setups claiming that he'd done this to Stephanie or whatever. With all that, again, Stephanie. I knew her at Elmwood School in 1993, 1994. I've spoken to her once because Mark Rich or one of the others sort of said, they're laughing at her, and I thought, well, they're laughing at her because she has like an intelligent look at that time, and they're just saying she's small because she was small for her age, and I thought, yeah, what's wrong with that? Why are you insulting her? You know, so I thought, you know, I didn't know what they were on about at that time, but anyway, I didn't really see her until 1997, and that was that's if it is her, I'm not sure, and that's at Tenpin Bowling at Taunton, Hollywood Bowls. When I went with a group called Snap on a group holiday, sort of school holiday day out trips that they do, where you pay about £2, and they don't do it anymore, I don't think. And I saw her, if it was her, because I went to call across to say alright. At the time that I saw her there, they were playing Knob, Slip Into Something More Comfortable music track on the radio or the music player at Hollywood Bowls in Taunton. Anyway, I never managed to get to speak to her or anything like that, and the next time I saw her was in the charity shop in Bridgewater, but I couldn't speak to her in the charity shop in Bridgewater, and every time I saw her I couldn't get anywhere near her because enemies were passing me who were too rough and giving me trouble, or people I don't know threatening to smash me in, and it's made it difficult to speak to her. But before I had a chance to actually say anything or speak to her, then came in the threats saying that you raped her and you don't know this, and then I had to sort of avoid the situation because I didn't want to cause trouble, and then it just kicked off, and then the sort of police went to ask questions about this, and said that you're making mistakes, you're going with something wrong and all the rest of it, and started giving me a lecture of a load of lies basically. And then obviously I saw her again, and I sort of had to ignore her because the situation is always when enemies or rough people are about where trouble's occurring, and obviously they were insulting her and saying this and that, and it got out of hand to a point where it's too dangerous to even speak to her or say anything, so I just walked past and ignored her on a regular basis. She had a boyfriend then, I'm not sure what her boyfriend is, it's the same boyfriend she has today, and then obviously she started to turn a little bit, so they reported me for writing on the bus. I was writing stuff on the bus on a piece of paper, and the bus driver thought I was writing on the seat or whatever, and I had to tell him to get that there. I said, look for yourself, there's nothing on there. I said, and he said, yeah, well, that better be alright, because I'll fucking knock you fucking flying if I ever see you fucking writing on the fucking bus again. And I said, there's nothing there, have a look. And he said, go and get fucking shopping with me, because I'll fucking send you flying. So anyway, that's the end of that. I can't remember what the bus driver looked like who said that, but that's what he said. And then obviously the next time that I saw her, there was one time I saw her on her own where there was no people about, but she had a very runny nose and a cold. That's just the last time I saw her, I think, before she got in a sexual relationship with her boyfriend. Then obviously I saw her at times here and there. One time I saw her actually occurred when the hard drive broke in my computer, and I lost all my evidence of the recent setups and trouble going back to a certain time period, which I think is 2013, I'm not sure. I went in the charity shop where she worked, and she treated me as if she didn't remember. She said, please use a hand sanitizer, will you? And I said, no problem. So I said, I decided to have a communication, but when I said, are you Stephanie, are you from Elmwood School, she just ignored me and just didn't say nothing. She just sort of walked away really and left it at that. So she just said alright, and you know, sort of basically that's it, but it's no sort of communication as such. Obviously I don't want to sort of cause trouble or anything like that, but she has no problem with me. I don't even know if she knows about the threats that I've been getting regarding this person. I don't have a clue. When I last saw her, which is just when I was camping before I moved to Yeovil, she was in her last stage of sort of sexuality, because she's probably around about high 30s now in age. I'm not exactly, she's not that much younger than me, but she's a few years younger, but not that many. It's about 5 years younger, something like that, maybe. I'm not quite sure if it's that amount, but either way, whatever age she is, she has gone into negative attraction now, and it is too late. But like I said, when I moved to Yeovil, I thought it was going to be a fresh start, and so did the social work and all the people, including my family, and you know, like that. They thought moving to Yeovil, things would be better. In actual fact, I have more severe threats in Yeovil than I had at my old place. And yet, it was nearly 10 years ago since I went to Yeovil, from when I first, you know, to when I actually moved into Yeovil. The first 2 weeks that I moved to Yeovil, I went to go into Tesco's superstore in town, the main supermarket. Over 30 people, possibly 40 odd people, were giving me trouble, mistaking me as Savannah. And that's the start of it all. And then in the year 2022, anything from 40 to 150, on 140, I can't remember how many it is, to about 200 people a day on the nastier days, and possibly over that at times. Rarely, I don't know if it did go over 200, but almost every day there was at least 40 threats in the year 2022. Almost every single day I went out. There's also the same amount, up to about 200 as well, of people photographing me to get someone to do me over thinking I'm Savannah in that year. And also for the unhygienic, unlucky curses of people coughing and sneezing in my face. There's roughly in the same amount figure, roughly, of that in people coughing and sneezing in my face per day as well. And then most days you had about anything from 300 to 1,000 people that were on their phones in my direction. Also for that year, 2022, people pushing a buggy or buggies, there could be up to 1,000 a day. Most days it was under 300. And obviously a timing Zimmer frames, and you had the setups like black and blue cars, drain covers hit over, reversing a catalytic converter at me, timing wording on vehicles to make a negative suggestion, angling or timing rough people in my direction, bikes to erections, lookalikes to people who sexually abused me at a child tying to an erection, followed by a baby bounced about in a sling, or setups to say we're going to rip you to pieces. You know, just those setups never go, they're sort of permanent, but there's nothing you can do about that. So that's the end of that. There's I wanted to mention something earlier. Lisa Pike and Emma Granshaw. I don't really want to give names, but I need to sort of explain this. In 2022 also, I got started on for speaking to Emma Granshaw. She doesn't like me anymore because she thinks I'm a spastic, maybe, if you want to put it that way. I don't word it. It's the best way I can word it because I can't think of another way to word it. But she doesn't like me because she doesn't remember me. So I don't speak to her because I don't want to cause trouble. Just leave her to it, you know. End of that. You know, that's what I do. So if I see her, I just ignore her. And she poses like a, you know, that sort of face, you know, I just mentioned. So that's it. Initially, in the early days, she was speaking to me because she didn't remember me from Avalon School, in Street. So when I was speaking to her on one occasion, there were some people in the town, bearded type people in their 20s, getting nasty with me, threatening to smash the fucking life into me, to put me on the floor, and moaning because I'm talking to her, a sexual lady, because she's a sexual appearance woman. Well, believe it or not, she's actually 1 year older than me, but those people actually thought she was in her mid-20s, and that's why they got nasty with me. At the time that they said that I'm supposed to be with Lisa Pike. So when they said that I'm supposed to be with Lisa Pike is exactly the same age as Emma Granshaw. In actual fact, Emma Granshaw, although she only looks like she's 25, is probably about 6 months older than Lisa Pike. And we've had that problem as well, where, because Lisa's not a sexual type, you know, they think that, because Emma's a sexual type, they think she's younger than what her age is, and that's why it caused a row. And it also happened on the second time I spoke to her as well. Not as aggressive, but it did occur. And then from that sort of time onwards, we sort of agreed that we don't speak to each other, but in her ways, you know, sort of polite way. And then obviously if I see her now, she just does like a spastic pose and walks on. So it's just a way to say, I don't want to speak to you. So she's not causing any trouble. She's just making it clear that she doesn't like me, so I leave it at that. There's one other person that I used to know. Some are saying she's, I can't remember what was I going to say, I've forgotten it. She looks a bit like a dog. They could nickname her a poodle or something, some people. I knew her at Yeovil College back in 1996 area. and people were saying that she looks uglier. She had smooth skin, so she was smooth in a sexual way of smooth skin, but she didn't have a very good looking face, basically. But obviously everyone saw her as being ugly, nobody fancied her and said she was ugly or whatever. No, even I didn't take to the look of her, but over years I managed to adjust my taste to actually fancy her. She has been in a relationship, because I've seen her with someone going back in 2005 area when she visited Bridgewater, or 2006 in Boots. Chemist in Bridgewater, I saw her going there. I didn't manage to speak to her though, and I was occupied by enemies at the same time she was in there, and control force in the town of people who were giving me a hard time, and I thought she probably won't remember me anyway. So although I thought she was ugly even back at that time, I thought there's a possibility I could possibly fancy her if that's the only thing that you can possibly get left. Nowadays I can actually fancy her, and believe it or not, she's probably the sexiest you can get in my age group. Anyway, I saw her on the train in August 2022, but I couldn't have communication with her because the crowd she was with were mistaking me as Savenne, and things kicked off. So due to that, I wanted to keep myself to myself and avoid causing any trouble. To avoid messing up seeing her if I saw her again, I thought the best thing to do is just to wait until I see her again, and then I started using the train on a regular basis, but with no success or seeing her. Then shortly after, I was doing camping trips, and then obviously at Portland, that is, and obviously I had a lot of threats there, mine, considering I've not been there for 20 years. And that, you know, but it's not, you know, again, mistaken as Savenne. But anyway, I never saw this woman again on that train, and for the most of the year 2022. The next time that I saw her, she was in a relationship with someone, then she became pregnant, and now she's a single mother, and the boyfriend she's with is slightly younger than her, and if I see the boyfriend, I often get threats to be smashed in, or saying I'm a sick cunt or whatever else. And obviously when she looks at me, the look's not evil as such, but it is like a dark eye to sort of to agree with the boyfriend. I agree with my boyfriend sort of look, and then it sort of goes into that evil look, but not a deaf evil look, like a really nasty evil look. It's sort of theirs. I'll be aware of me because I'm in with someone, don't look at me, that sort of look. And obviously I don't. So they put that through where they mistaken me as Sven and made her pregnant too. So there's actually nobody I can think of that I've known or whatever. And if we go to the prostitutes, it's only in sort of the Asian that do it. And there's only blowjobs, handshakes, garden gnomes. They don't give you nothing else. If you want hardcore sex, you know, a prostitute's supposed to give you hardcore sex. Well, you can have two. You can have hardcore sex, or you can have safe sex. Safe sex is where you wear a condom, a rubber johnny, and hardcore sex is where you have proper sex without a condom on. Prostitutes give both, but obviously you don't have that today. There isn't prostitutes today. You can't make friendship with prostitutes. I've used dating sites for many years. I've been robbed of about 10 grand in the many years that I was been using these sites. Scam sites, meetups. And obviously fuel explosions on the M5 when Clairvoyance, 1 month before the M5 explosion, Clairvoyant predicted me at Bridgewater Fair that I was going to get a girlfriend called Chloe at the carnival at North Perriton, but they took it off because of the fuel explosion, as in 2011. And all that was on the internet before the fuel explosion to confirm the evidence at that time. And obviously they closed roads, they've shut shops, there's been enemies outside my place to stop me getting out on days where I wanted to meet up with partners that have been on dating sites or whatever. They've messed up many things like that, and obviously caused me not to get anyone. On one occasion where they didn't mess it up, I couldn't get off the bus because the woman that went to meet up was uglier, was a really ugly type, the ugliest you can possibly get type. So I just stayed on the bus and went on to another place with a day ticket that I purchased. Take that away, I've just been messed around, scammed, and that's it. So when it comes to dating sites, there's a long story about it. I could go on for hours and hours just mentioning the problems, like the threats, do I know you, to get my ex-boyfriend to smash you into fucking knife you onto the fucking floor, to break your fucking arms and legs, stop adding sexual people, stop moaning about age gaps, you know. It goes on and on like that, you know. You're supposed to be a single mother, you're supposed to be a stale piece of shit, look at your fucking age. And this is when I'm in my mid-20s, you know, fucking starting a row even then. There's never been any good days when it comes to using social media. Anyway, there's only Asian people that are on Viva Street or using these sorts of dating utilities or prostitution, escorting sites. Well, I had a discussion, just a conversation. It's more of a conversation rather than asking for anything, just to sort of how, you know, I sort of applying my views across. She was decided to speak to me, and she basically said that most of the stuff that I say is right. You know, they don't give what you want. She said the only way you're going to get hardcore sex or stuff like that is to get someone you know. It's got to be someone you know in person, because people change. And she agreed. I don't actually know she's born in the UK or someone abroad, but you know, she had that intelligence. She wasn't a stupid one, where most people out there are stupid. And she was agreeing. She said, yeah, people are being fussy about the age. And she said, I said, what was it? Said, so what should it be like? And she said, as long as that person's clean looking, they don't really not too bothered about the age. A proper prostitute, even if it's only a teenage prostitute. But she agreed. It was about 10 years ago when I spoke to this person, so that even this goes back. But she said, yeah, people have changed a lot now. So, just had something impaled, one of those green leaves from the fern trees in the graveyard. It's not a safe tree, but hopefully I haven't inhaled too much of whatever it is. Yeah, so that's that. And obviously, you know, when they mod them in the last 5, there were more than that now, about 10 years now, you can't even make friendship unless they know you on your phone or know you from school days. And this is on a proper dating site. And most people are using dating sites now, or the last 10 years. They're just using it as like a friendship, only to make friends, not to find anyone, just to chat to people, but at the same time, they're only using it and paying it to chat to people that they know in person. Well, how are you going to get that on a dating site? A dating site is supposed to be a place where you're trying to make new friends, new people. Anyway, when I was talking to this Asian lady, she basically saying what you want and the description of reading your stuff and your negative profile or whatever and how things been. She said the only way you're going to do this is you're literally going to have to go with a family member or someone that you know in person. But the problem is there isn't anyone in the family that I can go with. And all the ladies, I don't want to insult family obviously, but not my type. And they're all married, you know. There isn't many people in my family to be fair, and friends. I don't really have friends because too many people are mistaking me as Sven, and it's being done on a mass scale. So that's caused me to lose many friends from Burnham. In fact, this Sven bollocks. So you know, the person in Seabreeze has caused 4 of the clairvoyants that I used to. Well, not clairvoyants, but people that go to the mediumship before it closed down. They fell out with me. They thought I was Sven. The person that works in the herbal shop has turned against me, thinking I'm Sven. Like I said, I had the 100 plus threats in 20 minutes that I was in Asda's in Highbridge. And the co-op shop at Barrow, I used to go there on a daily basis sometimes. But this time I go there for the first time in a couple of years. I'm treated like a piece of shit and known as a sicko. So it's all changed. And obviously when I was in the graveyard camping, going back to the camping trip, when that car was being smashed in, luckily there's CCTV where that car is, so I'm not going to get in trouble. But yeah, what happened was I was being surrounded in the graveyard by bearded type people. One of them was wearing a plastic glove. It looked like my ex-mugger Dan Morgan, whether it was or not, I don't know. He's looking on his phone, he had a plastic glove on, wearing a snake t-shirt. When I say a plastic clear glove, it's like one of those plastic. It's like he wants to. He's like he's dealing with a dangerous animal. And he's got the serum or the venom on him, and he doesn't want to get it on him, because otherwise it could kill him. That sort of protective sort of plastic layer, what he's wearing that for, but that's the suggestion he was giving. They were surrounding me in the graveyard. They were on their phone photographing me. saying I was a child rapist and I got to be murdered and shot and fucking killed and beaten to death. So I nearly called 999, but luckily I managed to hide myself in the graveyard behind a tree. Eventually, after sitting there for 3 hours in a sort of state where I had to be ready in case there was an attack to run or whatever, they did eventually leave and I managed to get a clear away and I moved my tent to another destination. But then we went into the heat wave. Was too hot for me to go back and there was nowhere for me to go because I couldn't go to Woodland because there was problems and I wanted to wait for that problem to go, so I stayed in that area. Or was it because of the appointment, one of the two? So basically it was just a case of moving about until the time came when I had to so I can tell you now, I went to the church, there's a couple of people I was invited into the church. That's where I really sort of got into the Christian faith. Christian faith is beyond fucking belief. The amount of trouble I've had in my life worsening since I've sort of worshipped God or prayed to Jesus or whatever. I don't believe God is Jesus. I'm concerned about all this. Anyway, when I initially went in church, I was being mistaken as Savannah, but it wasn't like it is now. This time, you had this dry and sarcastic lady next to this bloke at the back who was monitoring the screen at Barrow Church near Burnham-on-Sea. He's a fucking beautiful. That cunt there, he's being fucking tight. He is fucking God. He's being fucking charged. You're a bastard still there. That's unbelievable. He's fucking. I tell you, a bastard. I'll fucking bash the cunt in. I had a fucking knife for cunt. He was basically repeatedly saying that to the lady, and he also photographed me a couple of times, so I left the church. And like I said, I couldn't make it to the coffee morning. Yet that was not a problem before I moved. There's a little bit of problem, but nothing like it is now. And I couldn't even get in there. Everyone would treat me like a sick piece of shit. And the lady that said she knew, the old lady, the granny, that said she knew what Savannah was, she told me that I looked nothing like this person. She said, apart from the nose, she said, that's it. But then she said, that the nose, my nose is more pointed than Savannah's nose. And she said that Savannah's bigger build than me. But it is true, like threats of people, he does play a guitar. I'm not exactly sure it's rock, country and western or what it is, but he's into that sort of acoustic sort of music. He's not into electronic or anything like that. And obviously, but when I went to Sherborne, which is near Yeovil where I live, in the last couple of days before Christmas, I had about 80 people per time I went there mistaking me as Sven, getting nasty, threatening to smash me and break my legs, calling me a child rapist, doing this and doing that. One of the threats occurred was to claim that I'd worked in a play school and raped children. I've never worked in a play school. But that they were thinking I was Savannah and were getting nasty. It only went into arguments and fights. I did shout back aggressively, and I was shouting and made some conspiracy videos and put them on YouTube. And even where I lost my temper was on YouTube. I didn't get in trouble for them because obviously the people didn't monitor them, or people like the social worker or support worker at that time. But they're definitely on one of the YouTube channels. I think they're on the YouTube channel where I've lost the password details and can't get in there. But it'll be on the internet, so if you search it, I'd have to find out what it is you need to type in to find it, but it's definitely on there. So it's never good news. Before 2017 or whatever year it was, I can't remember if it's just after Christmas 2017 or just after Christmas 2016. It's one of those years. Before that time, I was never mistaken as Savannah in my whole life. Now, I'm not quite sure whether the Liam threat came in first or whether the Savannah threat, but I thought the Liam threat was slightly after. But looking at my life story packs and deep depression pages, it does appear that some of the Liam threats were occurring just before that, where I was being mistaken as Liam, but it wasn't frequent. Both threats seemed to come in around the same time, or the Liam seemed to be frequent after, so many months after, and then obviously about a year after, and then sort of most of the threats were Liam to initially start with before turning into Savannah later on. But there's another person that turned against me. Again, I don't know if this is her name. I thought her name is Alicia, but she could be Heather or Helen as well. A clairvoyant predicted Heather or Helen, and she said, "You're going to trip into this lady." And it's the lady I tripped in was the lady that works in Boots. And she says, "Sorry, no." And she sort of smiled and sort of whatever. But at the same time that occurred, two rough people got nasty with me aggressively with beards, threatening to smash me in when I was trying to speak to this lady and apologise and whatever. And it was never to be. She looks younger than me. She had smooth skin, but there's a possibility she could be older than me. I'm not sure. While thinking back, for many sort of years, I sort of think to myself that she's younger than me or whatever, and she has smooth skin or soft skin. But then again, it clicked that when I used to go to WH Smith's to try and order some old school jungle CDs back in the mid 90s, late 90s, she was working in WH Smith's in Bridgewater, and then it clicked, she's older than me. But at the time I would have said she's about 10 years younger than me. But you know, whatever the situation, because of this Savenne business, whoever that lady or whatever her name was, whether it was Heather or whether it's Alicia or Helen, she's turned against me as well, so all because of this Savenne business. And I haven't really seen her work in Boots, to be fair, since when that threat came in, and when I last saw her when she turned against me because of that threat. So it's all sort of all through. And then obviously we went on to this Gemma issue, but like I said, that's ended as well. Basically everybody I've known, this got, whatever happens, this is why. So life's just going downhill. So like I said, I started praying to God just before I moved to Yeovil, so about a year, something like that, I can't remember. Initially it was, I was at Nan's and looking at out-of-body experiences on YouTube while staying there. And then it referred me to children with out-of-body experiences or seeing Jesus in dreams and visions. I didn't really know what that was, a dream or a vision, sorry. And then I got into all that, and the sort of the Bible sort of stuff got into that. Then I was invited into Barrow Church, and then obviously when I went to St John's Church, my life started to get worse and worse. So I spoke to this person called Tim Thurgood, and he said Jesus Christ helped him. He said he's nearly, can't remember what age he said, 31 or 32. He said that's a very old age to have a first time ever girlfriend, but God helped me within the first couple of years of praying to him. He said God really does work and God doesn't let you down. At the time he didn't know what my age was, and I was 10 years on top of what his age is when he first had a girlfriend. When I told him this later on, several months later, his face dropped, and he just made the suggestion that maybe in your next life God will help you in your next life, maybe it's too late in this life sort of suggestion. And I thought to myself, yeah, well, I've been sexually abused as a child, not anyone, although I didn't tell him that. So after that he started to fall out with me, and then recently, very recently in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I mean, they've always treated me like a piece of shit in the church, you know, Saint Savenne. They always refer you to God or Jesus if you want help. When it comes to girlfriends, they say, oh, you need to go to Jesus or whatever. I decided to piss about with the Jehovah's Witnesses because I was in a mood one evening, and I thought I'd go down there and visit them. I had the same problem initially when I first visited there, so when I visited there, I decided to do more frequent visits. Initially, and then they got the same attitude, put your faith into Jehovah, and then I sort of got a bit started to turn a bit against, you know, and just was not in a very good mood board, and I just wanted to, and I didn't cause any trouble, but I sort of left. But St John's Church, the last 2 weeks is the one I want to get to. I was filming the old-fashioned radiator. It looks like it's a late 1800s radiator, and I was going down the steps to go to the open the doorway to the spiral stairs that goes to the clock tower at the back of the church at St John's Church in Yeovil. Well, as I was doing that, a lady was coming out of the toilet with a young girl, and I said alright, and I thought it was a rather unusual thing to happen. I thought they'd already been in there 25 minutes. I thought they would have left, you know. So then she started an argument, and then the boyfriend started saying, I'll get my boyfriend to fucking smash you out and all the rest of it. So decided to cut that specific recording, put it on YouTube and Facebook and expose it. When I did, one of the people, which is Tim's wife, Tim Thurgood, the one I told you about, like just now, reported my Facebook channel. They didn't actually report to Facebook, they reported it to the church, the link that was on Facebook. And then I got in trouble for it, and they reported me. They phoned me up because they had my number. So I said I wouldn't be coming back to the church. I said no. And they said the reason why that was on there, because I wasn't happy about what was said to me, because what I was filming. Because I didn't actually manage to film the actual clock tower stairs, and I wouldn't have been able to go up to the clock tower because you're not allowed up there. But I wanted to get as far as a stairway, but I didn't manage that. I had to cut the recording, and I chopped that specific recording off where the lady and the girl came out of the toilet. That's where I got in trouble, so I don't go to that church anymore. So that's the end of that. In 2008, on Valentine's Day night, there was thousands and thousands of threats on that specific night, but there's a specific recording that I did, which is something like 1 minute and 8 seconds. I can't remember how long the recording is, which is done on a digital audio recording device like this, back at that time. When police raided my flat, they didn't really have any reason to raid my flat. They took all my recordings and all my evidence containing this kind of information in the police raid for when they needed to raid my flat for a specific reason back at that time. Otherwise, if I had that recording today, that would have been the bestest evidence of any recording I've ever done for the amount of threats recorded in one go at one time. There was roughly, I can't remember how many threats it is, but it's under 120 threats, but it's over 100 threats in 1 minute and 8 seconds, or 1 minute 7 seconds. I think it was 8 seconds or 7 seconds. It might have been a little bit longer, but again it would have been under 1 minute and 20 seconds. Same for the threats. Either way, you had people shouting, "I'm breaking in, I'm firing a dart, I'm breaking in his car, I'm smashing his windows out." The threats were slightly different back then, so it would have contained a few other bits and pieces like what I'm saying now. I'm breaking in, I'm firing a dart, I'm stabbing him with an HIV needle, I'm going to stab him with AIDS, I'm going to catch him with AIDS, I'm going to squirrel him off, squirrels will crawl in, I'm going to bee him off, I'm going to, not so much fight him as such. Knife threats were there, but the fight and knife threats weren't really frequent. It's more to do other things, but I'm going to fucking smash and beat him in, maybe. It was there, it was in the threats, but there's more sort of I'm breaking in, you know. It's sort of like that. So I just wanted to mention that. There's one lady that's a kind of a celebrity that was that made friendship with me on the internet, and she was just coming into adult ages, and a couple of years down the line, after speaking to her on the internet, she said, "Why did you want to contact me?" And I said, well, basically, I thought if I needed to contact someone at a younger age, because everyone's a single mother. Once they, you know, they can stop timing loud bikes to erections. Yeah, my willy's high up. Right, in actual fact, I've gone to that subject. My willy going up with a loud bike. The willy going up to a loud bike and the increase of setups began at the farthest for around 2008. So what happened was they released Lady Gaga, Just Dance, and started claiming I was a mental case, and that was the beginning of when they started timing loud bikes to erections, or my willy going up. But also in the early days, just before 2011, they were timing that van where it says that bike means, I won't say the name because it will offend my father, but they were starting that as well. And that was a frequent bike, it was a frequent van name. So they were doing that on a regular basis. But they were timing a loud bike or whatever, time to get in a stretch, and just getting pissed off about it. But this is half the bikes on the road back then. There were bikes that passed where it wasn't timed to an erection. Also in that time period of 2009, they were stepping up all this action against me, all these setups. When you compare the setups to today, it's nothing compared to today. However, you did have those days where they were really bad. Every time I've been into Bridgewater police station or been into magistrates court, the setups are as heavy and as nasty as what they are today, believe it or not, on the worstest of days today. So yes, you did have those days back then, but they weren't very often and they were very rare. But you did have nasty days. I mean, I was saying, oh, there's been 1,000 setups or 2,000 setups today, and you think to yourself, that's bad. Nowadays, you only need to be out for the first 25 minutes and there's 1,000 setups. It's a lot different today, and there's a lot more people about, and there's a lot more traffic about than there was back in 2009 area. Then they were twisting the music industry against me and bringing out tracks to tell me to fuck. Many different things they were doing. They were trying to tell people to hit me off and all the rest of it. I mean, going back to Fathers for Justice, that's when I asked the Dandos to stay at my place, because you had scaffolding around my place. You had a rent-a-kill van parked outside with a Connaught van. The CCTV camera was taken down. You had the Squib nightclub nights on. You had the Palace nightclub going on. Even back at that time, because people knew that I didn't have sex with this Stephanie, or threats that go back in the early days of threats, there were still some people that were battling, so it wasn't just one-sided, to keep things calm. You know, where if I trip over this, I'll just put that back up, right, where I was, yeah, so you had these sorts of threats. People were sort of trying to keep the neighbours safe, so you had rough people that were trying to climb the scaffold into where I was, into my place, and you had people that were trying to get people off the scaffolding, arguments, and you also had the police there as well, mind. But yeah, so there was a night where I asked the Dandos to come around to stay, and that's when I got accused of trying to touch Sadie up when I never had sex with her or never touched her up. Then they tried to accuse me of stuff that's not true later on, as I mentioned, and then they obviously asked my cousin to go around, and they tried to accuse him of stuff as well. I won't give his name because I don't want to cause any issues there. And this is sort of something he told me later on, which I didn't know. However, as it stands, when it comes to my cousin, when it comes to me, the Dando side of the family, as it stands today, are pretty much stable with me, no problems at all. If they see me, they'll be alright, they're happy, you know. It's like that. So it's good to be on a good basis. Obviously, it's not to an extent where you're meeting up or seeing them or anything like that. But, you know, everything is stable as bygones or people, or whatever you want to call it. So it's all good. But, so yeah, that's when things started to kick off in that time period. And you had a whole load of music tracks going against me. You had the lighting system go down in my place also at the same time. They were timing rough people in my direction when I was going out. It's quite a nasty time period. And not only when they were timing the lighting system to go down, but at the same time that the lighting system went down, on the local newspaper they were making the suggestion to break into people's flats, including my flat, with the suggestion, because the lighting was down where I was living. So you had that suggestion. You had many different things like this happen. You've had hundreds and hundreds of incidents like this, even before 2009, where this sort of thing was going on. This is just one incident I'm mentioning, which is the Fathers for Justice incident, where you had the clock tower, people climbing the clock tower at Big Ben in London, and basically having all these things happen when they were putting the windows in at my new place when I lived at Bridgewater West Street. But if we go back even further to 2002, 2003, I had the estate after me in North Peverton for several reasons, and then you had the music industry going against me with Scooter bringing out music. So basically there's a couple of tracks, didn't really make much of a suggestion. Then you had Scooter's Weekend, where saying drum and bass is still on the map, making the suggestion that you need to hit that person off or get rid of that person who listens to jungle music. And then obviously there's a few other tracks that followed that, but they failed to succeed because I'm still here today. So you had that issue in 2003, but also in 2003 I knew this lady called Susan, which is a sexual type person, but it was sexual in the sort of person where it's a normal attraction, sort of not sexy, feeble looking at all the it's sort of more of a sexual looking, straightforward looking face of a, you know, standard looking woman type face, if you get what I'm saying, but sexy enough to fancy when I, she just turned 17, and obviously I was in my early 20s, and obviously that was not seen as a problem. But just as I got to know her, the government upped the age of sexual consent from 16 to 18 in that time period, which caused her to fall out with me. And once she fell out with me, she found another person, got in a sexual relationship, and then became a single mother. After that year was up, and she got in a relationship with this other person, the government dropped the age of sex back down to 16 again. And that was the end of that, caused her to fall out with me. They also turned Maria against me because she got in a sexual relationship with someone called, with someone who looks like the Harry Potter, the boy in Harry Potter film. No, I'm not exactly sure the age of how old Maria was. But again, there wasn't really that much of an age difference between me and her, because if you look at my age, I wasn't really that old myself in 2003, so I was in my early 20s. So they turned her against me as well, and I think they did that on purpose because of Scooter's Maria track. Maria basically looked very similar to Stephanie Hill or Stephanie Jill, but slightly smoother attraction, and not surrounding the face. But I think she had a round face, but not as round. Very similar looking to Amanda Millis, one of Sadie's old friends maybe, but again smoother skin than that. And that was it. But when it came to Amy Weston, I can't really go into details of what it is. She had 5,000 friends in her Facebook friends list going back when I first started up on Facebook in 2011 area. Let's say this way, if she's got a friend, she knows that friend very, very well, let's put it that way. And yet I'm known as a sick bastard if I look at anyone that even resembles her face, even at 20 years older on top of that 8 years. Yeah, I've never had anyone in my whole life. So in some ways, all my enemies are sick bastards. I mean, Shara Weston, which is her sister, just a few weeks ago, I looked at someone who looks very similar to her, but a little bit younger, not much younger. I don't know what her age is, but obviously if you compare it to my age, I say she's about 7 years younger than me. Similar looking to Shara Weston. I don't really know Shara Weston that well, only from internet, but I know it's Amy Weston's sister. Then I'm known as a sick bastard if I look at that type as well, so it's not good, is it? And then again, that type's been with all the people that go to the Palace nightclub as well. It's a vicious, my life's been a vicious way of life. It's worked out really nasty. Now let's go to the animal voice sound, shall we? When I was being sexually abused as a child, seagulls and crows and birds were going oh, 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 ha 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 ha, or saying just now ha, repeatedly. And it was happening every time I was being molested as a child. Right, then there was no voice sounds, and well, apart from when I was on the beach with my Uncle Robert, when I was about the age of 5, a seagull made a vicious hiss saying bastard, which was quite a nasty hiss, and even Uncle Robert thought it was a nasty seagull, innit? Said that to me as or something like that. Take that one incident away, there's been no sounds from seagulls or crows or anything like that since the 2 times that I mentioned until 2003. But there was one incident in 1996 or 1995 where a seagull went ha 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 in a deliberate way, where it made Lisa Pike laugh in the classroom. And also there was a setup of a black and blue car timed where I was joking with Lisa before I saw these setups as being a proper setup when we were coming back from Yeovil College to go back at Avalon School on the Thursday or whatever day it was that we went to Yeovil. But then I didn't look at his setups back at that time and didn't take much notice. It's sort of coincidences, looked at as coincidence back at the time, but I laughed and joked at it at that time. Nowadays I don't joke about these setups occurring. It wasn't until 2005 that I sort of gripped onto it. Because before all these setups, what was happening is I was walking into all these enemies and rough people, and people were starting on me. And it's the same everywhere I go, in the whole of my childhood, but basically wherever I went. There's always trouble, always walking into nasty people, always in situations of dangerous. In the way it occurred, and then obviously, then we had the Dan mugging me in 1998 area, down at Chiltern Trinity area, Dan Morgan. I think he's changed today. I mean, he might have. I didn't have any trouble in the 8 years I was at Burnham. Things he sort of kept himself to himself. Whether he's changed into a different person, it's hard to say, because the reason I say that is because the two incidents in recent times, the 6 months before I left mine to move to Yeovil, and the other incident is when I was camping in September 2023, where I was being surrounded in the graveyard, which I've already mentioned. But anyway, back to animal voice sounds. 2003 was when it started, but again it wasn't suggestive, but I did notice that there's a lot of I don't know what happened in 2003. I don't know whether I did notice there was a load of loud bikes on the road, but I didn't take much notice to remember it as a setup as such. 2004 died down. 2005 was when I moved to West Street in Bridgewater. Late 2005 or 2006 is when the animal voice sound started, and you added up to 1,000, possibly 2,000. There's one specific day where a bird was tweeting to tell me to fuck a specific person repeatedly, with thousands and saying you're going to be shot dead, or you're going to be knifed, or you're a child rapist or whatever. Same voice sounds I mentioned today, like breaking in. Same as what threats give. You know, you molested this person, you molested her, you molested, whatever. The same voice sounds I mentioned today, or basically the same as threats, animals are speaking that. And it can be up to thousands, hundreds, depending on the day. Enemies started to know this from the Palace nightclub, and they realised that God has turned. Again, that's in the 2011 area when people started to calm down. And then there's not really any trouble in 2012, 2013, or whatever, before I moved to Burnham-on-Sea. And there's a couple of people, actually, rough people, that I was walking past when I was walking in town to look around in Bridgewater, that actually told me. Says, looks like it's too late, mate. It looks like God's turned against you, my friend. And saying stuff like that, you know. And some in a rougher accent as well have made the same suggestions, so they've noticed it. It has been noticed. It's not saying that's where it's only me that's noticed these voice sounds or whatever. Obviously, when it comes to a doctor or anything like that, it's put down as schizophrenia, like the threats and the burning and whatever else you want to call it. We'll come to that in a minute as well. So, what happened then? So, yeah, the animal voice sounds sort of died down. It's sort of around about that time, sort of 2012-ish, 2013. It's still occurring, but it wasn't so frequent. It sort of it was down completely. Then it picked up again in 2015 when I moved to my new place at Burnham-on-Sea. And 2016 was quite a bad year, and section of 2015, especially on the Valentine's Day period and the Christmas period. And if I remember, the Father's Day period had a few sounds as well. And some of the stuff that was said had to be removed off of the internet because it caused trouble because of the information, like sex, a specific name or whatever. So, you know, I have been in trouble for that. You know, I have explained and apologised to people and family members or whoever, to saying that they said even though it's a sound, they're not happy with the content of the sound, and I have removed it, because obviously you've got to respect people, you've got to respect, you know, so I have removed it. But that's that. Basically there has been a few sounds here and there, but so I moved to Yeovil, and then the sounds pick up again December 2022. All the voice sounds pick up again, and then it's as bad as what it was back in the days when it was really bad, when I was living at West Street back in 2005, 2006 to 2011 area. And it's like it all the time, every day, as it is, just repeatedly. And some days it even goes to 1,000 still. though it's not that often it goes that high, but it was more frequent when I was in Bridgewater back in that time period. Let's go to the energy, weapons and radiation problems, shall we? When I was living at Bridgewater, I was experiencing burning on my hand, but I think it's mostly because of the mouse, so I don't know if it's now and again. When I was living at Bridgewater, you had Julie Rayner, neighbour under me. Also, you had Alex Lungus living in the back building to where I live. So, number 30 something or whatever. But I didn't sort of really have too much problems from that specific person. He doesn't really like me as such, but you know, I try to keep on good terms with him the best I can. I knew him from North Peverton as well, because he used to know all the people there as well, sort of Enid O'Shara Weston, Amy Weston, Lee, you name it. There's lots of people, but I'm not going to go into a debate about that. It's not irrelevant. So there's a little bit of burning, but it was only sort of in the hand, sort of what's causing it, and that was it. I moved from there. When I moved, that was it, and I think it's sort of moved, and that was basically it. There's no burning, no nothing. But then again, that burning could just be sort of something with a mouse. It's not like it is today. It's different burning. So I moved to my new place. The first 8 months that I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, I'm not sure if I've already mentioned this, there wasn't actually a single threat by anybody at all passing. You had the occasional cyclist shouting stuff passing because there was a just-in-time van, but it wasn't because of me. And the just-in-time van was the window was smashed in a just-in-time van, and that person who owned that van didn't park outside my place. But that was one of the vans that was parked outside my place. Anyway, 2015, 2016, no burning, no eye problems for the whole 2 years. 2017, same again, no problem. Start of 2018 is when it began. It was eye problems more than burning, like grittiness and stinging in the eye, the feeling like your eye's being forced open and outwards, and very dry. Obviously you can see that there's lasers in the window of the neighbours, and there's a blue light that was flashing, and in some places there was an orange light. But whatever it was, in the end it came to a point where I had to go to the hospital, and they saying that there's nothing, but they said this, but no, actually they said that, have you been using anything like a welding machine after checking my eyes? I said no, it just occurs. They said, so they agreed something's causing it. And said, what did you speculate that the neighbours are doing? And I said, using some form of whatever it is. I said, I don't know, it's like a light source. They say, well, keep that in mind when you mention it to your social worker and see if she can move you from there. It says, you know, if you've not been using a welding machine or anything like that, they said it is very, saying what you're experiencing is very real. It said, and that's where it ends. Then the social worker and all that's just put it down to that it's not maybe schizophrenia. They didn't really say it's schizophrenia as such. It's sort of, they said that, and then I took photos and people were commenting on the internet saying there's something's definitely going on with your eye there because it's swollen. And so looking at my pictures and sort of mentioning that, they're saying, and I said, what does your doctor say about it? And I said the doctor at that time later on said it's schizophrenia. And this chap who was commenting, he said, this is not schizophrenia, my friend, this is something more serious, you need to get that sorted out. He said, if there really is something going on, you need to get the police involved, you need to get the police. And I've told the police on many occasions they're getting this problem. And when I went out, it takes about 6 hours for the eye to water again, sometimes a little bit longer, but usually within that 6 hours. And this is in the salty air water of the sea. You know, when the wind's blowing in your direction, your eyes are recovering with that as well. They go back to like a watering, but it was always dry when I was at my place, and I never knew what caused it. I doubt I'll ever will. Anyway, I went into camping trips before I moved to my new place at Yeovil. When I moved to Yeovil, I did have a bit of eye problems for the first 5 months, but I think it's the recovery stages of the eye where it's already been damaged, recovering maybe. It's hard to say. It's around the time Reese moved out that the eyes started to recover. February 2022 onwards, there was no problem with my eyes for 1 year. No problems whatsoever. There was a week period, it was just before, it was when Jake was kicked out, but when Reese was kicked out, or left, there was no one on my floor. It was just me and the neighbour Matt under me in a 2-week period of time. In that 2-week period of time, I did get a bit of eye problems again, but it only lasted for 2 weeks, and it could get quite bad, but it wasn't bad where it's really, really bad, where I couldn't stay there, I had to camp out, but it was quite bad, and I thought, what's going on? The eyes are starting. So I mentioned it to the staff. They said it's probably, I think they said it's schizophrenia. Said you had experienced at your old place. So I didn't really say much. I didn't want to debate all this. So after that 2 weeks, this is when things were really bad and things were very shouty and aggressive. Because around the time Peter moved in, it went to, say if we put it into a percentage of 100% bad to the worst it was. As soon as Peter moved in, it went to 3/4 bad at the maximum, even on the nastiest of days. So it was a lot nastier back in 2022, and there's different people that were visiting the building as well. I was told that some of these mates that he was with, this Matt he was with, were taking the mickey out of him, but he's done away with these specific mates and he only has certain mates, and that he's starting to change. And again, that's just before Peter moved in. When Peter moved in, everything seemed to be quite a lot calmer. Well, not a lot calmer, but there would still be bad days, but they never reached the intensity of how they were back then. And then obviously you had the new staff workers move in, because there's a board serve or whatever, but there's been a lot of shouting, a lot of banging and whatever. The banging in sequence to threats didn't occur until January the 1st, 2023. Is it 23? Yeah, 2023, which was a very bad compared to 2022, because 2022 was a calm Christmas. But it's, like I said, it's a lot rougher, but it was not at that time. So 2023, and then there's just thousands of bangs in sequence to threats on a daily basis, shouting, coming in and coming, going. And then obviously Mark, neighbour, was still at that place at that time, and he experienced that situation as well, so it wasn't good for him. But also in the middle of sort of January, every time Peter was going outside, the bang would really, really kick off, or when Mark went outside. And then obviously it sort of went on just basically until he knifed the staff door on the 2nd of May of this year, and that was that basically. But I didn't have any problems with him in the later days that I saw him before he left. The actual day that the door was knifed, I saw him the day before. I walked past him with no problems at all. He was with his mates. So whatever caused that, I'm not sure, but possibility is he probably got drunk, or he was taking drugs or something like that, or there was an argument. Whatever it was, it's nothing for me to get involved in. So I mean, there's a slight possibility that it could be connected to this Sadie Dando threat, but due to it being on the 2nd of May, but whatever the situation is, this person's had to leave now anyway, so that's that. Anyway, going back to the eye problem, like I said, since February 2022, for a whole year, there's no eye problems. And there's still no eye problems until one specific day, which was in September 2023, when I came back for that one night, where Mark neighbour also came back from hospital for that one night before going back into hospital again the next day, where there was slight eye trouble for that one time. Otherwise there was no eye trouble again until January the 1st, 2024, where there was 3 days of it, and then on and off for 2 weeks there were 20-minute and 2-hour periods. Now I didn't really check to see if it's at times Peter was going out or whenever it was, I just noticed it. Then we had this burning sensation come on where I was burning very bad, which started in the first couple of days of February. It started on a Sunday, the very first time I noticed it very faintly. And then obviously a couple of days after that there's a 4-day period where it's really intense, and I couldn't set my place. It was making me too ill. They wouldn't do nothing about it. They were just putting it down to schizophrenia. And when I stayed at my dad's, the 6 weeks I was at my dad's, there was no problems at all. But I did 3 visits to my place on the bus. All 3 visits to my place. After about 40 minutes of being at my place on one occasion, the burning started for the first time in a month, after I had not been to my place for a month. Same again when I visited not long after. And similar again for a period of time when I went back again. Then obviously when I went back to stay, there's been burning literally since I've been back at mine, and I've just had to put up with it. And I did tell the staff that if I end up dead, then that specific neighbour I'm suspicious of who's doing it is going to be held responsible by my family if I end up dead from these energy weapons, if it is caused by that. And it's worsening at this minute in time. So, but what I have noticed is every time it's occurring, Peter's going out in the garden, and he's also in a happy mood. Ever since the burning started, Peter's been in a happy mood ever since he's been doing this, or if it is him that's causing it, and he's always happy. And he just sort of, if you speak to him, he says, "Oh, it's schizophrenia, see a doctor," and he'll laugh, or he's in a happy mood, or he's like he's not bothered about anything. Before the burning started, say before January 2024, Peter would have his aggressive moments and he would get quite nasty. But ever since the burning started and all this has occurred, things have started to change, and he seems to be a lot more happier. Like, he knows he can do this, he knows he can get away with it, so he's changed his attitude. That's assuming he is causing it. I don't know who's causing it, but it does seem that every single time he goes out is occurring, and it can be anything from 5 hours to 2 hours to 40 minutes or whatever. And this is why I got crushing head pain, like my brain feels like it's being crushed in together, like if you're trying to seal up a plastic bag that's trying to push the bag closed, or like you're pressing against a balloon against you, like you think your head is the balloon you're pressing against. It's like that, and you've got like intense burning chest pains, and it's making you fat as well. I noticed it's making you out of breath, it's giving you the shits, it's making you giving you stomach issues, you know. I'm not exactly sure what's being used, but if it is anything that's being used, it's on a daily basis. It's so bad going back just under a week ago that I actually had to camp out. I couldn't go back to my place. I fainted because the burning made me ill. And then I had pins and needles and tingling sensations where I was recovering before I came back to my place at 7:30 AM the following day. When I did arrive back at my place, straight away there was burning. Straight away as I walked in, I noticed it as I walked in, and there's nothing I can do about it because the ATO team or the doctor or anybody you speak to are putting it down to schizophrenia. I went into A&E just about 6 weeks ago, maybe just a bit more than that, because the burning was so bad. And again, they put a little thing in my ear, and I was in there about 6 hours, and they tested put a thing on my arm, tested my heartbeat, and just said there's nothing wrong with you, and left it at that and said it's schizophrenia. But if we go back to my old place, although they were moaning and claiming that this eye problem was schizophrenia, they did say, the doctor did say, although it's likely to be that, it's not 100% certain, but that's the way we have to look at it. So he had some sort of view that it could be something else. But when it comes to the loud bite tying to an erection, that's extremely bad. It's 80 to 90%, well, it's about 80, just to be on the safe side, because I don't know 100% without looking at my history of my life story, Deep Depression Pack. 80% of the loud bites on the road were tying to an erection, and could be quite bad when I was living at Bridgewater West Street. There were probably days where it's been every bike on the road, Very rare though, but it would have been towards the later time before I moved to Burnham-on-Sea. When I moved to Burnham-on-Sea, the first 6 months you didn't have it. Straight after those 6 months, every bike on the road, nearly every single bike on the road, right until I left there, or till 2016 at least, 2017, there's a specific year of 2015, 2016 or 2017, 2 of those years, they managed to get every single bike on that road tying to an erection, tying going to the toilet. That's every bike on that road of every day, of every incident of that specific year. And I lost my temper and I posted some information and contacted 10 Downing Street, got in trouble with the police. The police came around to mine before they had the chance to speak to me. Tying to an erection, a loud bike occurred and I was in a bad mood and they could see what was happening. And said, well, we just came to see if you're okay. And then the second time they came, they said that, yes, it's loud bike tying to erection issue. Yeah. And they knew. And I said, there's how bad is it and how long is it going? It says every bike on the road this year. So, you know, after that, it didn't really stop it as such, it just continued. And then we went into like a lockdown. It sort of got worse again. So, but just before the lockdown, what they were doing is they were nailing me as a sick bastard. So as I was getting an erection, a loud bike would occur regardless. So that loud bike would be there regardless. So you don't know what's around the next corner when the erection occurs. You haven't got a clue. You can't see around the corner. They were timing children and nailing me as a sick bastard. And they started doing that on a frequent basis, and that's when we went into the lockdown. So after the lockdown, they started timing people chasing women, people chasing kids that looked like myself at bus stops, where people were starting on me, and where I almost had to call the police because the way it's been set up. And they were timing people to sneeze in my face as I open a sandwich or whatever, and to do things like that. And it's just stepping out, because the setups, the control force around me is 4 times heavier than what it used to be before the lockdown. Even before I moved to Yeovil, the setups when I went on the bus from Burnham-on-Sea to Taunton, or Taunton to Burnham-on-Sea, you could tell that it's heavy. Literally every single roadway, every pathway, almost every house, you know, timing a bike to erection or timing a setup in a nasty, malicious, suggestive form, but managing to do it in that way where they can get every single corner angled. However, they've been doing that for years, but not as constructed or to get their setups as heavy as they possibly can, like they do today. Today's is the heaviest it's ever been, these setups. I moved to Yeovil 1 week before I should have, so I was there on the 10th instead of the 17th or whatever, so I got in there. The first week, believe it or not, there was hardly any setups. It all started on the second week, and those setups basically were how the setups would have been before the lockdown initially, for the first short period of time, first couple of months, and then it moved on to the heavy setups that you had, what it's like after the lockdown, and how it was at my old place before I moved there. However, it's variable and changeable. 2022 was a very nasty year for setups, but so was late 21, and sections of 2023 were really nasty as well. 2024 seems to be more of a way at the moment. The last, say, 15 months roughly, it's more a case of timing overhanging trailers to trying to rip your legs off from behind, making the suggestion that we're going to rip your life to pieces, we're going to play about with you as a baby in your next life and throw you in the fireplace and play about with you with poker sticks and stuff like that. That suggestion never existed before 2022. They didn't even make that suggestion, but nowadays they're making the suggestion of doing that in my next life. They want to see me born again, making the suggestion that you won't have a say in your next life because your brain will be wiped and we'll have our chance to rip you to pieces again without you knowing it. That's their sort of attitude. So that's that. Right, there's several Jesus Christ statues that they were selling, or that they made in a certain way. Obviously, I'm going to skip the statues that they were making, or the suggestions they were making back when I was living at Bridgewater West Street, and I want to concentrate on the new ones that they're making now, in the last 4 years. I've noticed that when they make these Jesus Christ statues, they're designing the face or the picture, the statue, in a symbolical suggestion to make it look like someone who sexually abused me as a child. I've noticed that they're doing that at the moment, so that's worth mentioning. The next newish thing that's occurring recently is whoever this Seven is has raped a boy with the same name as someone who sexually abused me as a child. But the problem is, when this threat comes back at me and people mistake me as Seven, they're getting very aggressive and very nasty at me, and they've even chased me and shouted their heads off in a real violent, hard-tempered way at me because of this specific threat, because they're claiming that I've raped a boy with the same name of someone who sexually abused me as a child. But when they're doing this, they're thinking I'm Seven, they're thinking my name is Seven, and they're thinking that I'm Seven and not Justin. So it's coming back at me as someone else as well, if you get what I'm saying. 15 years ago, I put on the internet, just on a regular dating site, this is offending people, even just 15 years ago. I put, I'm a single man, never married, looking for a pleasant, pretty woman, someone who's friendly, someone who's outgoing, that enjoys doing outdoor activities, nature, someone who likes music, someone that's into the new age and spiritism and all that sort of stuff. And I put looking for someone, how do I word it? I can't remember how I worded it. It was a polite way. I basically said I don't want a single mother, but I want someone. I said I'd prefer someone who's never been in a relationship before, but if that's not possible, I can accept second best. And basically says something like that. Just putting that caused a whole load of fucking trouble back in the early days when I was using the dating sites. They were moaning about that. They were just saying everyone's a single mother, you've got to go with a single mother. It's so thick as shit in the head. They're saying you get your fucking brains fucking smashed in if you do. And then on another occasion, not knowing beforehand, I messaged a lady aged 25 and I said, are you single? And she got nasty, replying saying, my ex-boyfriend doesn't want you around around his child, and saying that I'm a single mother with a child and that the child belongs to her and her ex-boyfriend, but her ex-boyfriend has threatened to smash me to fucking pieces on the floor if I get in a relationship with her, because he doesn't want me around her. I got a bit confused then. I'm trying to think how to word it. So basically, she's a single mother and the boyfriend doesn't want me around her child, otherwise he's going to smash my fucking teeth in and beat me to fucking death. That's what was mentioned on the dating site going back many years ago. So I told her I don't want a woman that's a single mother anyway, and that's when I got blocked. And that's not just one. It's not just one or two that's mentioned that either. Many people have said this. Many people threaten to smash me up, either because it's saying I'm a sexual, you shouldn't be adding a sexual looking person, and even people have looked at my face and I've found out that the person that I'm adding's actually been older than I am, yet they got me down as a sicko thinking that I'm older than what they are. Yet they've been actually a few years older than me, and they're saying I'm a sicko because they think that I'm older than them, and they've got their, and it's caused a lot of trouble, throughout dating sites over the years. There's been a few friendly replies in the United States of America. A lot of these sort of police officer ladies. I've actually had a police officer lady aged 22 speak to me from America, on a dating site going back when I was in my early 30s. I've actually seen CIA people or people in America, sort of women that go to the gym, or certain types of women that are actually only in their late teens, and they're with people older than I am today, if we go back over 10 years ago. But because this new over 25 thing has emerged, a lot of people are closing the age gap, not just in the UK but worldwide, and a lot of people are getting nasty. But in America, it's you still got it, it's not moaning, and a lot of people are sort of saying that the elite are causing it and all the rest of it. But age's not really the problem, but it would be better to go with a younger person, because it's not easy to find anyone that's not a single mother, if you get what I'm saying, and they try and force you into negative attraction. Anyway, got dribbling bow whistles. No, we haven't. It's a ice cream van. So, yeah, I've messaged literally thousands upon thousands of people on dating sites, and I've wasted money upon money. Back in 2005, when I went to Bridgewater Library, roughly 40 to 50 dating sites that were free closed down on me the same year that I signed up to them. Even on postal order payments that I made in 2006 and 2007, I lost my money where I signed up and they deliberately closed it down without any warning. Before that time, before I was using the internet, I was putting adverts up in the shop, but because people were getting funny phone calls and getting aggressive shouting from down the phone, family or relatives or whatever number I was putting, they said you're going to have to stop it. So I stopped all that and stopped putting things in the shop. So I used a mobile number, and then obviously when I used a mobile number, I was getting a load of trouble that way as well. So then I sort of moved on to social media and that. Then I started doing debit card payments on Zoosk, Plenty of Fish, Tinder. It's the same on all of them. They just nail you sick bastards and tell you to get a life. The only one that's actually, well, I've not really had many replies, but Viva Street's probably the only sort of, so you can get some form of activity. But the problem is people are moaning about the age or telling you to go with a munter. They keep on referring you to those negative types, everyone out there. They were doing it when I was doing it back when I was a young person. This is nothing new. They want to go with the hard type of people or the druggy type people, and if they're not hard people or not druggy types of people, they don't want to know you. They just put you down as a sick bastard. So, even these Christians, I've used Christian dating as well, by the way. Again, they're moaning about your age. They're telling you to add the older people, and you're thinking to yourself, and I've even added people, sort of spoke to people that have had rapture dreams or visions, and they've had a go at me or told me I was sick, or boasted with a baby in a sling, or made a throw up suggestion with a picture, and see you as a sick piece of shit or whatever, or it's like that, or so even God's people. So I'm not exactly sure whether the God Jesus is actually the proper God. If you look at the works of this creation and the way animals fight and kill each other, and painful death, and snakes eating rats, and crocodiles eating zebras, and lions tearing zebras to pieces, and small kittens and whatever else, and the way nature works, I don't call this to be a very friendly source of creation, whoever's created it. But obviously Christians believe that Jesus Christ is God of this world and is the son of the ruler man, the creator. But if we go on YouTube, there's a YouTube video which is called A 3,000-Year-Old Secret, which reveals that the ruler man is responsible for poverty on earth today and throughout history, and that they need to have a ruling population from a ruling class, and that government should rule a nation, and goes on about that and saying that they even starve their own people to guard that 3,000-year-old secret. Unfortunately, that 3,000-year-old secret goes back before Jesus Christ was born 2,000 years ago, crucified 2,000 years ago. But at the same time, we go to these conspiracy videos that they were shown on YouTube in 2012. They're saying that the Bibles were written by government organisations to keep the nation in control and to keep behaviour in control, with threatening with hellfire, and to basically keep everyone in order before they had the power to control the world, basically using the Bible as a manipulation tool, a powerful piece of information of using hell-threatening tactics to keep everyone in control before they gain power later on into the world that we live in today. So that's what they were doing back then, using the Bible and certain religions to do that. The only free religions, or the religions that are not tied and are free going and don't involve worship as such, is basically Spiritism and the New Age. Possibly even Luciferian religions. But they're claiming that Luciferian religion, they're all being awkward with the information. But let's just say New Age seems to be the one that's free going. You can choose if you like. You're not tied to it. But either way, even in the New Age religion, when I go into psychics or whatever, I've been predicted a lady called Yvonne from a clairvoyant, if we go back 2 months ago or whatever. That's through. That lady's through. She said by next month I was just going to know her regardless. That'd be the latest time I know her. So that clairvoyant who predicted this Yvonne coming into my life is actually through. But then another clairvoyant I saw said that the clairvoyant got it wrong, because the previous clairvoyant was working on this issue that what she didn't. The spirits were giving her information to the previous psychic reading she gave to someone else before she gave me a reading, and the reading was supposed to go to her and not to me, basically. So it got muddled up. However, there has been a bit of positive news, but I don't think it's going to come true. I don't. Where they predict that there's going to be someone coming into my life this month through social media, and that this person's been watching you over social media for some time and is going to give you a chance or give you a trial. But and she said that was going to happen this month, so that's through as well. But clairvoyants are not really that accurate, and I never take them as being 100%. If they happen, they happen. There are many names that have been predicted from clairvoyance. The very first clairvoyant reading wasn't actually a prediction. She just said, what was it? I can't remember what was said now. Was it me? It might have been a he that I spoke to. It said that there's going to be somebody, but it's not going to be. It didn't really make much sense. It wasn't that good, I don't think. I think that one, to just forget about that one. The past life clairvoyant reading I had, I was a lady that was working in a laboratory, and I was sexually abused as a child repeatedly, and I was in a sort of a tied up situation where I was forced to work in this lab, and I died tragically, but she didn't say how I died. But she said in this life, take into account this reading's over 15 years ago as well, she said in this life your life's going to be a lot better. You're now going to enter a stage where your life's going to improve, and you're going to have a sexual partner, which you should have had in your last life. But that never occurred. In actual fact, my life got 15 times worse, or 20 times worse. And then since I moved, that's when I was living in Bridgewater, and then obviously when I moved to Burnham you have more issues, and then it gets even worse. So when you move to Yeovil, 2022 being the worst this year for direct threats. Might not be the nastiest threats, but the amount of threats, 2022 is the worstest direct threats I've had in my whole life. So yeah, and then obviously once I'm dead in this life, I have to be born again, to be sexually abused as a child once again, and stop from getting anyone in my next life as well. So that's triple blue murder, Christ. So God's creation is fucking violent, fucking nasty. Anything that needs to be repaired needs to be done while you're alive, before that mistake is done. I remember doing a piece of paper once of some information where Jesus is taking the piss out of me, and I thought to myself, I was doing some very dangerous information actually. I put on there, if Jesus returns after I'm dead and not before I die, then that makes Jesus Christ Satan's son, because he can disguise where I go after I'm dead without letting me have sex for the first time in my life. And when I put that information on there, that's 15 years ago when I was mentioning that on the fucking internet, and I was getting quite nasty about it because I wasn't very happy. If anyone read that information, they'd hit the roof, because it's like a jeopardising piece of information which can't be replaced. Basically, it's sort of you've got Jesus in a trap as being Satan if he returns after I die and not before, if I haven't had sex. But it's done in a way where it's hard to explain. I really need to read that sheet out to you, but I don't have it at this minute in time. But this piece of information is a very dangerous piece of information that's connected to my life story, Deep Depression. Because the Deep Depression story started off on paper before it went on to WordPad. So stuff like, why do underwater creatures shit and piss in the same water they eat and drink out of? Why do we step on insects? If Jesus stepped on insects, that's murder. There's information like that, and there's a lot of harder information as well. But back in that time, people got nasty with me because they said I jeopardised the world. But most of these people didn't know anything about the Matrix and the material realm and the illusion of reality and stuff like that. People that realise that, and they realise that we're in a box trapped world, then it makes more sense to realise that we're in a nasty creation. But there is a lot of stuff I can mention on that. In actual fact, in 2005, I'm not sure how many sheets it is, somewhere between 100 and 300 sheets of A4 paper. I had sheets of, it's very, very tiny, right? It was very small right back at that time. I had my problems when I went out and all the rest of it. So I decided to rip it all up. I couldn't be bothered to I didn't think of photographing the pages or writing. I thought it'd take too long. I thought, just chuck them all out, just accept, pray to God. So I prayed to God in a 2-week period, and as I chucked it out, and straight away after I chucked all those sheets out and prayed to God for a better life and a girlfriend, and I said, I'm chucking this away, you know, I'm doing it for you, you know, sort of thing, giving it a bit of thought at that time before I go into a word pad. And believe it or not, my life just fucking goes drop merry hell, and I'm going to a whole load of fucking trouble straight after I lose them, and I can't and the bins have taken it away and all the rest of it. All the trouble fucking kicks off, and all the fucking other things or whatever else. And it's the same when I gone to Bridgewater Court and gone to the Bridgewater Police Station. Straight after I go there, you don't end from going there and find that things get better. You go through a stage where things get fucking nasty and everything else. My garage had a break-in where all my stuff is in March 2024, and I literally had all my stuff there because I didn't keep it there because people kept nearly setting the place alight, and the CCTV went down on many times since I've been there. So I decided to put 3/4 of all my stuff in there, and I lost my temper. I just completely lost it, because in March I lost everything. And as I lost everything, not only did it all kick off bitterly nasty with threats and everything else, and setups increasing and bikes to erections and people shouting their heads off, and then getting the burning when I come back to my place again and all the rest of it, but it just went fucking outright rageous. And I just went in a quiet area in the middle of nowhere, and I started shouting my fucking head off, making a conspiracy of God. I was going to rip you to fucking pieces. You see me in my next life and all the rest of it. I will fucking tear you to pieces. You're fucking not getting away with this. And I thought my life was fucking at it. So then I thought I got my spare copies of dark ambient CDs basically. But I didn't realise that these powerful energy weapons or whatever was going to mess up all those discs as well, which I've only just found out in the last couple of weeks, which is the spare copies that I had, not the master copies, the spare copies. The master copies had to be chucked out. These are the spare copies. Even they are fucked. When I was living at my old place, this eye problem, whatever was causing it, was wiping data off of USB sticks, messing up USB sticks and breaking hard drives, and it was also crumbling the inside layer of discs, causing the disc layer, the inside of the disc, to look like it's there's something wrong with it. But I didn't experience the burning or the head crushing pain. If there was burning, it was very faint. Either way, it was not that noticeable what I was doing to the discs, but I did lose a lot of jungle tracks. And when I did move to Thorn House, where I am now, I took the M discs with me, the blank M discs that I bought, but I didn't know that they tripled in price or got much higher, so I wasted over 1,400 in discs when I tried burning discs at the beginning of 2022, is it? No, 2023, sorry. Because Matty was banging persistently, slamming the door, and was knocking the sense key when I was trying to burn discs, but I had no choice. I was just trying to get those few tracks to a disc, and then I realised that once I saved those tracks, I didn't play them back to make sure that they're okay. So when I did about 50 copies of the disc that I wanted to do, wasting 1,400, I had to chuck those discs out because they're faulty, and I lost my temper. But what gets even better is I went on the gin and vodka back in that year, and also in late 2021 as well, September 21 or something like that. No, a bit later, in that October 21, I can't remember what it was. But what happened is the recorded discs, the Music Electronica series I called it, I put in a rubbish bag, so if anyone tried to break in and thought that they won't take the rubbish bag, if I put it in like a rubbish looking bag, leave it there, it'd be alright, there wouldn't be any issues. And I had it all there, all the stuff that I burnt in the past, like in 2015, 2016. I mean, there's no guarantee that it's been damaged, those discs, through energy weapons at my old place, because I don't know. One night I got pissed and I didn't realise I chucked the wrong rubbish bag out. When I chucked the wrong rubbish bag out, I was fuming. But guess what? Not only was I fuming, but it was at a time when everything was kicking off, and it just got worse and worse in that time period. And I was bloody holding my steam. I don't know how I did it, but I did actually manage to keep calm. Unlike today, because nowadays I'm starting to break up a bit, and I'm starting to lose it. But like I said, I don't break. This is the problem. I don't break. When it gets nasty, I go into retaliation rather than breaking up, and I get nasty about it. But at the moment, the government or the elite or God or whoever's causing or controlling my life is controlling my life in a way to give me no option to retaliate by putting these rough, nasty people that are harder than me in my direction, saying, "You're Mr. Zippy, get a fucking football in your fucking mouth, shut your fucking mouth. You ain't got to say, we got rough people in your direction who are going to fucking smash you out if you do try and fucking lose your temper because of all these unfortunate things that are happening to you." So they're doing that, making it fucking nasty for me as they possibly can. So that's it when it comes to those discs. And then obviously there's a time period where I had a few discs left, where I wasted about 180 quid, 200 quid on the last couple of discs that I decided to purchase, because those discs are hard to purchase. 2 copies that I managed to do 6 copies of one, 6 copies of the other. So 6 copies of my photos and family documents, and 6 copies of a 40-track music CD, which contains a mixture of pop, dark ambient, and a couple of rescued jungle tracks. And I did manage it because Matty was being quite quiet in that time. Although he's banging, it wasn't enough to upset the drive, and I did manage to do those 12 discs. Right, I went to post 4 of those, 2 of each, so 2 music and 2 my photos discs, to my mum's. It got stolen in the post. How typical. The other 2 are at my place, but I want to come into another story on that at the moment. And the other 2 I had at my dad's, but I didn't realise, and I'll come to that as well in a minute. So I do have 2 discs, but that is it. And those 2 discs, those surviving discs, are basically at my dad's. So yeah, it's not good, is it? One of the mistakes that I made with my discs is I'm not exactly sure what sort of weapon's being used, to whether it is a microwave or whether it's something else or whatever is causing it, but this burning sensation that I'm getting all the time. What I did is I made a mistake, because I wrapped up some of my CDs in foil to try and protect it from energy weapons. Well, when I took it out to play them, that's when the discs were damaged. So something caused that, and obviously that does not protect it. So it wasn't as I thought when it comes to the most recent dark ambient CDs of the second copy that buggered up, which I mentioned like just now. So the 2 that I had at my place, the M-disc recorded music ones, again, because something in the air's vandalised them, they don't play properly, so I've had to chuck them out. So I do have it on hard drive, and I did have it on online storage, but the problem is I lost my the SIM card broke in my phone, and I can't access the account, so I've had to cancel the membership payment, meaning I can't retrieve any of my music from there, and that wouldn't be the place I would want to retrieve anyway, because I don't like download quality or upload quality. I prefer it to come from a direct CD or a USB or hard drive or whatever, rather than an online source, because online source quality is quite crap. But yeah, it affected the M discs as well. So all in all, when it comes to discs, I've never taken away, before the energy weapons or anything like this or whatever's causing it. The discs don't mess up by themselves. It's only occurred since that time. Meaning that all in all, before that time, I've never actually had an M disc mess up, and I've only ever had one recorded CD or two recorded CDs that I ever messed up in my whole life when it comes to audio content CDs, and they were Memorex CDs that I was burning them to in 2005, which I bought from Morrison's in Bridgewater. There's a certain batch, it was the new batch, so you had like a yellow packet with blue under it, but there was one that had an older design to it when I had the newer ones come in, so it could be old stock because they looked like they were older than when they were new stock than the older ones, and it was those that messed up. When it comes to USB sticks, I've had many mess up. When it comes to hard drives, I've been lucky with hard drives. I've not really had many hard drives bugger up. I've lost count of how many that have messed up, but I do not think it's any more than 2 or 3 maximum, if 3 have messed up. And we're talking drives that have lasted a long time, going up until the period of when frequencies in the air were messing things up. You've got to take that into account before that time, basically. And think of that. Yeah, I guess I'm not actually sure when sort of frequencies would have started, you see. If we go back to, say, 2005 to 2013, USB sticks have messed up. I had the 2 CDs messed up that I mentioned. Under normal circumstances, taking away the frequencies in the air, I've not had any M discs mess up. I've not had any. It's an awkward one actually, because now because I was sort of thinking of that. You're thinking, yeah, because all the latest mess ups. I can't say, to be fair. No, this is a difficult one. I'm sort of more concentrating on the ones that are okay. But then again, you can't guarantee that they've been caused by, there were M-Tech Orange USB sticks of 16GB that I bought from Curry's in 2008 area, which I saved all my old school jungle vinyl on. I paid a lot of money for those, and when I saved my jungle vinyl on them, I realised later on that those USB sticks fucked up all my jungle records, and they were sort of all good tracks as well, like Rev P 1994 on Impact Records, Pesce World of Music Infrared Records, and these are all mint condition records, by the way. Legendary Volume 1, Gwanj and Spinback, The Execution. Legendary Volume 3, Lee and Gwanj, Too Deep. Intense Paradox, Rugged 7, catalogue number Rugged Vinyl Records. And also saying, I did take the other tracks off as well. Then obviously Rugged 9, Intense, Time Space Continuum, The Genesis Project, The Dreamer, and Dope Remix of The Quickening. Then you also got to take into account that I've also lost Rough with the Smooth, Twisted Curl, Basement Records, Flat 47, No Man's Land. But then again, I had that on CD. That's one of the rescued tracks, in fact. The rescued tracks of to recent times, because I got it at my dad's on 2 M discs I recorded. Take those 2 M discs away, I lost all my music completely. But I can't bring them back to my place because I need to move first before I can take them to my place, because frequencies in the air are messing up all my discs. But when it comes to the doctor, again, it's being put down to schizophrenia. The lighting on the EMF meter or the radiation detector, again, they're putting that down to visualization caused by schizophrenia. And I'm thinking to myself, I'll put it on YouTube, and they say they don't look at these sorts of things, they have to look at the way they see things, and they're saying everything is schizophrenia, when I didn't even have schizophrenia. When I was in 1993, I was diagnosed with a professional that my parents paid to get a professional to see what problem I have. They said it's autism, and even my family don't believe I have schizophrenia. But going back in the early days of when they were trying to medicate me with 5 milligrams of olanzapine. My mum made it clear not to take it. She said, you do not touch that at all. Obviously she's a bit more slack today in the his Shupa. She says, you do not touch those at all. That is very dangerous. But, you know, there's not much you can do about it. Other records that I lost: Guange New Creation, the Alliance Remix Legend Records. The 10-inch acetate press of the Alliance First Impressions, the Legend Records promo, mint condition. Had Dope Travelling Part 2 on record, the original press. DJ Panic Revelation and DJ Panic Daybreak on Hardline recordings. I had that as well. Ronnie Size and DJ Died a call in. What else did I have on record? I have many different records. I bought some of these records back as well. Ones I bought back were Making Ground, Take Me Higher, Ragga Mix, Rude Boy recordings, Nutty One off the Nut EP, Liquid Affray and Underwater Fireworks, another classic record. The Anthill Mob 123 Adrian Blunt remix, Underdog Recordings. Another excellent tune. Subsequence, You're the One. I did have that on record, but that's one. A lot of the records I had back then I gave to a friend called Lou on the internet. He did a lot of mixing with my music. Then I let him keep my records, but we did eventually fall out with disagreements on sexuality and whatever. And these kind of disagreements, hard to explain, but it ended up in a fallout. I wasn't too bothered because I knew I had my music safe, but I didn't realise when I played my music later on that basically, literally, I had to shortcut Pesce World of Music and Liam Guange Too Deep and Intense Paradox and Guange The Execution and Rev P 1994 and basically lost all the rest. That's the best it gets. Yeah, so every record I ripped I lost. I had to sort of download some of it and I wasn't happy about that because the quality's shit. So, but I can't re-get it because all the DAT tapes or the original master recordings are gone because it's pirate music and it's not commercial. Once the music's gone, they can't reissue it, and when they reissue it, they take it from a record and they can't get the records because there's no records out there. Most of them are scratched anyway, so it's too late. I've lost all my music. This is why I went into the dark ambient stuff, but like I said, energy weapons or frequencies in the air has fucked all them up. And the spare copies I noticed is fucked up, which I just noticed in the last couple of weeks. So going through a bad stage in my life, this is just going to get worse, and then you think to yourself, you don't piss about doing this when you've never had anyone. You're the age of 43, coming up 44 as well, and you know, it's not good, is it? And the other thing that pisses me off is it's sunny every day, you've got blue skies and sunshine, cloudy everywhere else, and then they're cursing you with this painting that I mention on a regular basis, Lauren painting. I say it's a Lauren painting. There's a picture of a sexy lady in her early 20s, shining with smooth skin, shining the sun down out of her hand on this young chap that has a resemblance to my face, but also it looks like a boy at the same time. It's holding a notepad in one hand and torch in the other hand, and she's doing a sexual lip, but the lip's more straight, but the way they design the lip is to make a sexual pose. And she also looks very similar to the Nectar 1 points advert on eBay, where the lady's laughing and wearing a blue light coat and throwing both hands in the air. So Lauren sort of, Tesco's has been between those two sort of depicted away. Lauren, the reason I say Lauren is because Lauren sort of resembles that person on that painting, but that painting's been taken out of the card shops and off the internet, and they needed to do that in a hurry. And with setups and suggestions, they have told me that there's a replacement to this Lauren, and they're going to keep on cursing me with the sun, causing negative weather when I don't like the sun, to apply a no sex t-shirt worn by a Lauren lookalike. But the person who's a Lauren lookalike would have been a lot younger, uglier attraction, rougher skin, and more sinister appearance in the face with a sarcastic type face. And this would have only been like a teenager child to a very young adult, which is younger than this Lauren that's being that works in Tesco's, all this painting curse. So she was wearing a no sex t-shirt at the end of last year, and now this year they want to make the suggestion that we're replacing this law and we're going to look like someone who sexually abused you as a child, trying to erection, so I want to piss about like that, while keeping it sunny persistently at the same time. And it's every day, there's not even a day without sunshine, and if there is a rainy day they hold the sun out where I am. They do it deliberately. So I mentioned this on many other videos, so I don't need to go into a full documentary regarding that issue. The very few records I bought back, by the way, Helen went to open my windows and open doors in April 2022, and she didn't realise my records were laying on the radiator. She didn't think of that, and accidentally burnt a lot of them, because I went out to the church, and when I came back they'd already been on there about 2 hours and they just melted, and it's too late to do anything. So I lost, in today's price, that's 1,500, believe it or not, maybe a bit more. But back then it would have been a bit slightly cheaper when I bought the records, but either way there's nothing you can do about it, it's gone. There's a lot of stuff that's, you know, a lot of problems I've had, you know, it's not been good. But last, moving to Yeovil's caused more harm than good, literally. I wish I never moved, but you know, it's the eye problem, the energy weapons that were causing the eye problem, or whatever was causing the eye problem. That's the reason I moved to Yeovil. But you know, there's nothing you can do about it. And obviously the social worker and support workers and the doctor and family members and the very, very few friends, which have all fallen out now because they think I'm surrendered, or they just don't like me. Even they thought that life was going to change when I moved there. In actual fact, 2022 is the worst threat year in my whole life. And also the sellers have been very nasty as well, as I said. But timing people to cough and sneeze in my face, that was going on before the lockdown, in fact. But it wasn't. It's a lot worse today. So, you know, trying to think of the other records that I've lost. I'm trying to think, oh, what was it? No, that's not one, that's on the CD. I can't remember, there's quite a few I lost, but let's just say I lost all of my music apart from that 40 disc track I made, where the 2 discs are my dad's. If it's not for those 2 discs, they're master copies. They've got to rely on those 2 discs for all my music, because I don't have it anymore, because I don't want to have to accuse Peter or one of the neighbours for damaging my music. But if it, you know, if he was responsible, you're looking at thousands of pounds of damage, and I'm not making that up. But because I can't guarantee or confirm that he's doing it, there's nothing I can do about it. But the problem is it's not stopping, and the health is getting worse. So not only is it costing me money, but the health is getting worse, and I'm deteriorating. I've had to camp because of it. There's a risk of a break-in if I camp. With the very few things I have left, you know, it's not good, is it? But there's nothing you can do about it. I've literally had the piss taken out of me, my life down the drain. There's nothing I can do about it. And this is why I started getting nasty, and why I've gone into the church and smashed a candle on the floor. I've done it again yesterday. I lost my temper yesterday. But this is because I'm being accused of raping Sadie Dando when I've never had sex with her. Ricky Hucks is a possibility, but I don't want to accuse people of raping her. But what I will say is I've never had sex with her, and it's the same with Ian, the same with Amy Weston, the same with Stephanie, the same with other names. But there's nothing you can do about it. People are brainwashed into believing that all this bullshit is being made up. Even the police have made stuff up and come to my place in the past, where it's turned into disagreements, and they got funny with me when they found out that I'm telling the truth, you know. But then they started to get a bit more happier with me in the later days. But since from about 2013 onwards, but when I moved to Burnham, the police were okay with me. When I moved to Yeovil, they started to turn again. But you know, there's not much you can do about it. When something's put down as schizophrenia and not taken seriously, there's nothing you can do about it. And there's a lot of things that I've mentioned that are very serious, that have turned out police issues, in fact. But you know, there's nothing you can do about it if you're being put down as a schizophrenic. I don't even believe I have schizophrenia. When I do have threats, I do hear these threats, you know. They're real, they're not imaginary. When you smell these petrol smells, they are real. You know, it's not imaginary. But like I said, I'm not going to go into a debate with all this, but you know, life's just going to get worse and worse. And it's like I said 10 years ago. As soon as I hit my 40s, I'm just going to lose it. I'm just going to get nasty if I still haven't got no sex or no partner for the first time in my whole life, because I'll be too old to have anything, and I'm just going to go absolutely crazy. But it's already starting. The worse the burning gets, the worse my life gets, the nastier I get. And if I end up in jail, that'd be everyone's fucking fault. And sexuality is 99.9% of all problems caused right through my whole life as well. In the first few days of June 2022, also the end day of May, and also May the 1st and May the 2nd 2022 were extremely rough days. But in the beginning days of June, I was chased with a knife at Nine Springs, being mistaken as Savenne, and the same occurred the following day. So what happened is, on the 9th of June, where I had more trouble, I decided to stack up USB sticks with all my life story packs on it, and I let loose information and conspiracies of my life, and people giving me threats, letters, bits of paper I write the threats down on, the mistaken identity of Savenne. I posted it to Alex Jones Infowars at Texas in America, conspiracy theorist organisation. I posted a USB stick also to the Washington White House, containing just under 60 gigabytes. You know, for the 15 years plus of trouble that I've had, a lot of it's been lost, and it's, you know, like I've already mentioned, but there's still remaining bits. Most of it still remains. But there has been times where bits that have been lost have occurred. At times I've been accused of rape, which I'm not very happy about. But there's nothing you can do about it if hard drives break, or there's sly curses to mess up the time period to stop you having your say or your evidence, which has pissed me off in the past, as I mentioned earlier, I think. So anyway, and the other organisation I sent it to was the Australian Canberra government on a USB stick, because I thought, you know, they're trying to hit me off. And even the day I posted one of those letters, someone came back from the Glastonbury Festival wanting to smash me out in the post office, getting nasty with me as I went to post one of those letters or USB sticks to whatever organisation it was on that day. So one was on the 9th, or a couple was sent on the 9th, and then about a week later I sent another couple or one when this other incident occurred. So yeah, not good. Regarding the music industry, my sort of music, back in the 1990s it was approved when it came to underground, old school, rave, jungle, techno, house, garage, you name it. Electronica music was approved of, and some of it was actually got commercial and was in like HMV. You could even get a jungle techno CD or hard leaders CD or jungle business volume 1 CD in a place like HMV or Our Price Records. And even Woolworths would have the occasional rare underground commercial jungle or techno CD back in the 1990s. Obviously, you know about the law in 1997 where they forced copyright control on sampling from older pieces of music on the 2nd of May, which I mentioned earlier on at the beginning of this video. Well, in 2003 they made it on commercial records, they couldn't put the specialised track on the B-side of a record. They stopped that as well. With underground music they could still do that, you know, with the stuff that's not official, but it could only be pressed as a small amount of copies and would not be mainstream. They can't reissue any of this music being shown by a catalytic converter. So the Jungle Techno series, quite literally, there's so many tracks on there that they can't reissue. Music's got to be with the times, you see. When it comes to this sort of music, it has an old sound to it. It's the same with techno, especially insta techno or the acidy type techno that's progressive, which is stuff like what Billy Nasty plays basically, or very similar stuff to like CJ Bolland, The Prophet, which is a techno type track, acidy insta type. I think insta means instrumental, I'm not sure. There's a certain type of techno. A lot of the techno that I like is a sort of sound where you sort of very deep sound, very dark, muffled gunshot backing noises, not gunshot, crashing bomb sounds, in the background, that are muffled, and it's very spacious sounding, very fast clicking hi-hats alongside a techno beat, and then you've got like a stringy synthesizer that is faded in with a slow build up. You know, it's that sort of techno. I'm not sure what the name of that techno is. None of that techno can you get. All that techno's gone. You're not allowed it. When it comes to the old school jungle stuff, you have a lot of tracks that had dropouts where I went into like a trancey breakdown track with like a classical sounding rare groove sample, or it sounds like it came out in the 50s or whatever, where they make an old sound halfway through the track, or a futuristic sound halfway through the track, or one of those really sort of dark, dreamy sort of futuristic sounding breakdown parts in the track. There's a couple of tracks I can give you names to. Dope Travelling Part 2 is one of them. DJ Panic Revelation is one of them. Pesce World of Music is an unusual type of breakdown track. It sort of goes into like a crystal maze sounding effect. It goes and it says, "Don't make me wait too long. No, savage you." And then it says something like, "I need you." It's quite an interesting track. It's a really good track. Obviously it's proper 1990s old school, you know, the proper era for decent music. But there are other underground tracks that have breakdown parts. Bliss and Tumble, Free Me. There's not one people really go mention that much. That has a breakdown part in it as well, which is on the Jungle Techno 8 LP or CD or whatever. You got the Alliance, First Impressions, on Reinforced Records, which was initially on Legend Records. The breakdown part on that, or the trancey part, is at the beginning of the track on that one actually, rather than halfway through the track. And it's a really good track as well. It's one of my top favourites. Gives the impression that there's bats flying around in a cellar, you know, a dark, creepy cellar, and there's also got the same piano sample and melody of what is used in a track called Way Out West, The Gift, in the second section of the Alliance First Impressions, which is a track released in 1996, a very big tune in fact. So, but let's get back to music a minute. I had a bit of trouble saying what I wanted to say because I was on the main road. There's a risk of traffic coming. Luckily there hasn't been much traffic, but sometimes it can be a bit busier. It was earlier. Well, actually it wasn't that busy earlier, but it was enough to annoy me. Let's look at the more commercial stuff that was released in the 1990s, like the Jungle Mania series, Telstar Records. They're being that fussy with the music regulations and music laws today that they won't even reissue the Jungle Mania series. And that's all the more commercial stuff. In actual fact, when they release a Jungle CD, a compilation, starting with Jungle Massive on newer releases, starting with Jungle Massive, mixed by DJ Hype, which was released in 2001, Warner Chappell Music Records, or yeah, I think it's Warner Music. Every compilation that they've released as a jungle compilation, they're using the same tracks, and they're always using the cheesiest, light-headed, gangstery, crappy jungle tracks you can possibly get on every compilation they have reissued or released since that time of 2001. They are not allowed to release literally anything that's underground, regardless of the genre, whether it's techno, whether it's jungle, garage, house, whatever, they're not even allowed to release even some of the tracks that are on the borderline or the surface tracks to chart music. That is how strict they're getting with the music industry. They're trying to push everybody into happy, jolly, good life sexual music. Like now that's what I call music. Hip hop, country and western, rap, dubstep, modern drum and bass, hardstyle, modern house. So they're trying to force everyone into the happy genres of music. If you go into HMV record shop, the classical section is nearly empty. And all the classical music that's in there is all Disney classical. There's nothing like proper classical anymore, like Prokofy or however it's pronounced, Prokofy or something. Dance of the Nights, or Tchaikovsky, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, or what's the other one? You know, you're definitely not going to get this track if I can remember what it's called. Bernstein Sibless, something like that. Symphony 22 Op 3 or something. I can't remember what track it is, but it's a really dark track. You ain't going to get any of that anymore. Even Pachelbel's Canon, which is the same sample that's used in Coolio's See You When You Get There. You ain't even going to get that. They're doing away with everything that's soulful. They're doing away with anything. When it comes to music, they're trying to... I can see where they're coming from. It's not good, obviously. They're trying to modernise everything. They're trying to modernise everything to match with reality. So you can't have like a 40s record playing 40s style sound in a space age 2050 UFO, you know, only joking, you know, 2050 space film sort of, you know, you can't, it's not right. It's like, for example, you wouldn't be listening to a Victorian sounding track in a modern nightclub. It wouldn't sound right. It doesn't match with the time. The music has to match with the time, and you need to keep it on a repeating roll, completely. Music that's soulful gives that old sound to it, and this is why they're doing away with all the old music. It makes sense what they're doing. It's not good. I'm not happy about it, but it does. It does make sense what they're doing, because they've got to keep up with the times. And if you listen to today's club music and compare it to an old school jungle track or a 1994 techno track or whatever, you will notice a difference straight away, how it sounds different. In actual fact, people have actually laughed at people that play snare drum jungle tracks when you compare it to today's drum and bass, because of how different it sounds and how old it sounds. People can notice in that small time period of 30 years the difference in the sound. And teenagers, if you do play a jungle track, teenagers will just laugh at it because it sounds old. They notice it. I wouldn't notice it too much because obviously I'm used to that sort of music because I like it. But these youngsters notice it. It's the same with old techno. If you play an old techno track, like I just mentioned, one of those deep type of build-up techno tracks, you get laughed at because it sounds old. So it makes sense why they can't let any of it back in the mainstream. I mean, happy hardcore. Even happy hardcore has an old sound to it. You notice it. If you listen to happy hardcore and compare it to hardstyle or modern techno music, or well, it's not even techno today, is it? And modern beaty music, you notice a difference. You compare the two, you notice how old it sounds. And again, happy hardcore's not even 30 years old yet. It nearly is, or we're just touching 30 years old now, but, you know. And this is why these datas are lost and why the record companies can't reissue any of the music. It goes against the older generation people in their 40s up. And it also goes against those who've had a bad life. And it also goes against those who've had a sexual bad life. Because all today's music is based on sexuality and love. That's what sells. and the violence in hip-hop sells. They are going to do away with hip-hop. They will do away with it. The time will come when that comes. But it's not going to happen just this minute in time. You know, I found a lot of information out about all this and comments that are on the internet and what's going to happen in the near future and all the rest of it. Hip-hop is going to come to an end. It's not going to be too long either. But it's not going to be just yet. They've got to keep up with times, you see. Modern music, modern ways. But just had to get under that false widow because I don't want that crawling all over my head. Although they're not dangerous, I would prefer to avoid a bite from it anyway. So yeah, I mean, you've got some sub-record companies, but a lot of the music, they can only release it on record, you see, and the reason they can only release it on record is because if it's in a digital form, it will last longer on the internet, or it'll last longer in the mainstream, well, not the mainstream, is it? But it's something that is not good. But you know, it's not. Let's just simply say, because I'm lost for words, I don't know how to word it, because I'm out of breath. 'Cause that's another thing. Whatever's causing the burning at my place is causing my mind to fuck up and causing me to be out of breath. And whatever's causing is causing me to have diarrhea all the time as well. They just say it's a medication you're on, which is a load of fucking bullshit. All they want to do is give you the highest dose. But like I said, they're only giving me that to shut my mouth up, to turn me into a vegetable and to hit me off. As simple as that. Setups going back a few weeks ago were saying that. Was it get a taste of your own medicine t-shirt? Mr. Zippy Top follows that. And basically a rent-a-kill van after that or something like that. So they do know what's going on with a pre-organised force that's in my direction. Or the creator God's doing it, one or two. Or something's causing it. They seem to have to know in advance whatever. So if you listen to trap music, EDM trap music, modern dubstep, it gives you an idea of how they're trying to change the sound in music. They're struggling with pop music, I noticed that. Because they are changing it slightly, but they are struggling to modernise it to a site like. Because that's what's going to happen when they modernise this music. You're not going to have that low sound to it. Because to modernise anything, you need to change it into a more cheerful sort of scenario. And that's the bad news when it comes to people that prefer the darker sort of sound. You look at classical, that's very moody and very dark, especially the proper classical. I'm not talking about the mainstream classical or the kids sounding classical. I'm talking about the classical they've done away with over the last 50 years. You go back before that time, most people knew what the dark classical was, and it was, you know, but nowadays they're trying to cut everyone off from that. But and then you compare it to the moody electronica stuff and the soul tracks of the 80s and the 70s. I mean, the 60s were quite a happy decade. That was a happy decade, but the 70s and 80s were quite soulful decades. And so the 90s was very deep, with a load of dark tracks. So it's sort of, you know, they're trying to sort of modernise everything. But I'll leave it there. Right, so there's been 18 cars at catalytic converter, fucking hot point. Right, they're stopping PCs and laptops with disk drives, and I'm not very happy about this, because on the internet you've got all these teenagers, these sexual type teenagers that are stupid, that have their sexual smartphone, which they were going to name sex phone back into the early 2000s, but because it sounds politically incorrect they named it the smartphone. Well, this sex phone, smartphone, the sexual phone, everyone's in a relationship who has a sex phone or a smartphone. Right, to make things worse. Right, so they like to get their music, they download it, think, oh, it's the latest track, I download it, and obviously, you know, that's the way they think, that's the way their brains work. So that's it. They think, oh, it's a music track, got the latest track, oh, it's music, yeah, good, I play it to all my friends, all day, we'll laugh about it and sing about it and talk about celebrity and gossip and magazines and fucking shit like that and soaps. Well, this is the problem. when it comes to other people's music, DJs for example, they like to use proper discs, you know, CDs, and they're not taking into account that download quality is a load of shit. Think of YouTube when you get a very shitty, poor quality sounding video and you download it and it's got that squealy sound to it, or squeaky, sort of warped, tingy, sort of foily sort of sound. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean. That's how all downloads come up, even the bestest of downloads. So if you're trying to extract a sample, enhance it, or mess about with the treble or whatever, the high pass, or try and increase the low pass or whatever, you notice all these problems. So you notice that the quality's crap, and you notice that the depth control, not so much the bass, the depth control of the whole track I'm on about. A track has like a stable sound, it has a stable, solid sound. A download quality, you lose that stability, and it goes into like a, I don't know how to put it, like a mid-range sort of quality. I don't know how to word it, but you lose that depth control of a proper track that's taken from a CD when you compare it to a download. You notice the download's crap. Doesn't matter how good the download is, any download music from any download source is a load of crap. Obviously you may have to accept it on some tracks that you can't get, but as a rule I'm not sort of happy with that sort of quality. I like to have my music put on disc, and that's a problem. DJs are going to have problems getting discs, because a lot of these discs, these sample discs that you buy on eBay, have downloaded samples on it. They don't tell you that. You just notice it when you extract those samples to use it for professional editing to make music tracks or mix with. You notice that they're deliberately using... That road's supposed to be closed off, by the way, so I don't know why it's open. It's closed off until tomorrow night. But obviously it seemed to be letting the traffic through somewhere. So we got that with the so that basically mentions that. So if it wasn't for compact discs, if I was just saving my music from storage device to this storage device, I wouldn't have hardly any tracks, if any tracks, because the quality degrades. On a hard drive it'll last for about 6 months before it starts to degrade. Depending on how good the hard drive is and the make, you might get 2 years. If they can stop timing a allow bike to an erection, yeah. So a hard drive will hold music for a short period of time, but then you'll lose the quality, so it's sort of volume will slightly drop, the mid-range will drop, the high pass will drop, and the bass range will drop, but the bass range will sort of go sort of muffled rather than drop if you search, but it definitely drops. You don't get that, I don't know how to word it. How do I word that? You don't get that fine vibration. It goes into like a warp, sort of not warped, but a fine vibration is like a clear vibration that sounds clear and fresh. After time, that vibration will go into like a muffled, back-drawn type of bass line. If it's been on a hard drive for a long time. With a USB stick, you get a quality loss straight away. All you need to do is save your music on a USB stick, and you'll lose the bass straight away. The bass will suddenly drop. The treble, the high range, you lose a bit of that as well, but the main track seems to be mainly centred in the mid-range. If you use a micro SD card, the sound, the general tracking in general just drops quite a bit. Burning music to a DVD, a normal DVD, just a regular DVD, you also lose quality on that as well, mind. However, if you burn stuff to a compact disc, I tend to find that you don't get any trouble at all. The compact disc seems to remain basically from the day you've recorded on the disc. You can play the disc about 20 years later and the quality will be near enough exactly the same, just as clear. So discs are definitely the best. With an M disc, they're literally like discs, obviously there may be a slight due to the material that's in the M disc, there may be a very, very minute, slight bass drop, but only about 5% if that, from when it's recorded on the disc. But when it's on that type of disc, you don't need to worry about it, because that'll be the best quality disc, and your music will be safe for many, many years, because it lasts for a long, long time. They've stopped making those discs, and they've stopped making regular discs. But the thing is, they don't realise the spastics in the elite, or whoever are trying to force everybody into modernisation, do not realise that deterioration on electronic storage does degrade very quickly. That's the problem. And eventually it will come to a point where it's not playable or sounds crap. And this is why, when they reissued Lifting Spirits, Will I Dream, which is a jungle track, one of those underground jungle tracks, that the quality is so low compared to the original recording that was pressed on 12-inch record going back in 1994. So that's you know, so it's not good, is it? So obviously you're going to need to keep discs going anyway, because people that want to back up precious family photos, documents, important work documents, you know, data, music, you know, or what else do they need to do? You know, anything you need to back up, important documents, work documents, a dictionary, for example, specific books, information. You know, you can't put it to a disc. You know, if there's no disk drive in a laptop or a PC, then you can't save your music. And also they're doing away with audio discs as well. You can't hardly get audio discs. When you go into HMV, they're trying to push everybody into vinyl. And the vinyl is better sounding than an audio disc, but audio disc is much more convenient and it's acceptable. I used to like cassette tapes, but I've always preferred CDs, even when I had tapes. Even when I had my mixtapes, I was trying to look for them on CD, and I asked them, and they said, basically in a record shop, they said you'd be paying about £1,000 if you want it on the CD. So, you know, it's like that. They don't let you have the CDs. Another loud bike tying to an erection, unfortunately, while I'm trying to do this. But now let's get to the latest models of laptops and PCs, shall we? Just to rub it in, and I'm not making this up either. The very latest PCs, if you want to back anything up on it, you can't even use it. There's no USB port, let's put it that way. So it'd be pointless buying a USB stick, it'd be pointless buying an external hard drive to save your data or music on, because they've done away with that as well on the latest ones. So what are they up to? What are they trying to do with people's documents? What are they up to? Because why do they need to do away with specific formats? You know, you're going to always need, I mean, it's mainly the older people that need it. They seem to be aiming everything at the kids. The kids have it all, the kids want it all, and the kids get a good life. But everyone else is treated like a piece of shit, especially if you're over the age of 40 years of age in current time of 2024. So, you know, there's no need for it. I mean, how can family keep documents safe if they can't put it on a hard drive? I mean, CDs, discs or whatever is the best for safety and keeping things safe for a long period of time without deterioration. However, USB and hard drive are convenient for keeping stuff safe. You may have a bit of quality loss over time, but it's definitely a good way of keeping stuff safe and backed up, assuming you have a couple of copies that are backed up rather than just one copy, because otherwise there could be a whole load of issues. It's a very interesting closed road, I tell you that. But now they don't even make PCs or laptops with a USB stick. That means anything that is saved has to be done through the air, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier on. Download quality or downloaded or uploaded music files give that low quality sound if you do that. But what about those that want to back up their music or whatever? I mean, DJs are going to hit the roof, especially when it comes to techno DJs or old school jungle DJs or whatever. They're going to hit the roof. But you know, You're gonna have to think about the small, small minority that need this. They need to keep it going for the small minority. I mean, discs are usually in stationary places. So, when people are backing up stuff, it's usually important documents, You can't just let important documents just go to waste or keep it online. And what happens if the hard drive breaks on the computer? And you've got all your stuff on there, it'd be like a mobile phone, wouldn't it? Like a smartphone. As soon as the smartphone breaks, you lose all your documents, don't matter. That's how your laptop top is looking. So that means you're not going to be able to keep any family of the documents on disk, USB, hard drive or anything. Or even an SD card, we even have cameras. There's all going to be sexual smartphones, and there's all going to be destroy your documentation, is it? I'd like to hear people's comments on this, because I am not very happy about it. Thanks for listening. The catalyst controlled penis out of the bike 6 more times. Black and blue Clyde. Seco says beautiful. Blue car getting a bust in his flat. Gemma or GMR. Started cars. More issues with bike. And again with sexual motorbike. Loads of black and blue Sigmore bikes erections. Right, so it seems to be penis up loud bike. I've just had a wash, a shower, a kind of bath. 3 loud bikes to erections. After a wash, 6 loud bikes to erections. Being beat up, having a break in, a fucking pervert, and a load of fucking threats on top of that. So I'll include the rest on the next documentary.